the next 5 minutes. I invited her cousin, not her, Pete says. I told Julie to come alone. Girl never listens. Kat. I glare at Pete, then get my arms under Kat's and drag her to her feet. Those rippling muscles I don't have would come in handy right about now. You shouldn't be here. Julie ditched me, Kat whines. She said it would be a fun party and I could forget about you. She didn't say Pete would be here. Not you either. Kat's eyes fill with tears. She touches my face, sliding her hands down my cheeks. I always loved your ears, she says, and your nose and your eyebrows. Forget about me. Let's talk about it later. You have to go home. No! Kat shouts. She reminds me of my 2-year-old half-sister, Jessica. Great. A really hot 16-year-old girl with the mental powers of a toddler in a room full of drunken college guys. And if she's not hot enough for them, she can turn herself into anything they want her to be. Kat drapes her arm over my shoulders and pulls me down with her into an armchair. She licks the side of my face and tries to stick her hands down my pants. Kat, don't! I grab her wrists. Conversation continues like normal around us. Nobody cares what we're doing. The guy who made out with Kat goes off into a bedroom with one of the other girls. I hear 2 of the guys cough the word slut as soon as they're gone. It's a tight fit with both me and Kat in the chair, and we're even cozier than when we'd hang out on her bed and watch TV, both secretly wishing we could do more than that. Only now I'm freaked because I caught her drunk at a party, making out with some guy. To forget about me because I told her it was never going to happen. Kat, I say, my voice shaking, tell me you only made out. Not anything more than that. Kat glares at me. Why? You're not my boyfriend. You don't care. That was the plan. In hindsight, I can see how it might be flawed. Her not being my girlfriend doesn't make me any less pissed to find her here. Except this time around, it's not cheating, because I turned her down. I said it was never going to happen. We're close, but I said we were only friends close, meaning I don't have a right to be jealous. Some crappy plan that was. I'm your friend, I tell her. You shouldn't be doing this. Kat wraps her arms around my neck and rests her head on my shoulder. Damien, she says, we were supposed to get married. Whoa, this is news to me. She sounds serious about it, but that could be the booze talking. Looks like somebody won't be wearing white, the blonde girl mutters. Everybody laughs. So much for not paying attention to us. I move to stand up, dumping Kat off me. She tries to hold on, but I'm too wily and coordinated for her. Don't go, she wails, reaching after me and almost falling off the chair. I tell her I'll be back. I tell everyone else that if they touch her while I'm gone, they can ask Pete what will happen to them. Then I step into the hall and call Kat's mom. I have a nice chat with her about the horrible teenage travesties her daughter is getting herself into, keeping an eye on Kat through the open doorway. I sigh as I hang up and rejoin the party. I look over at Kat, who seems pretty out of it. Good. That way she won't witness what I'm about to do. Instead of settling back down with her, I head straight for Pete. I stand in front of him, twiddling my thumbs and not making eye contact. Pete smirks. Looks like I'm not the only one your girl will ditch you for. Guess she'd rather be having a good time with anyone than hanging out with you. I am so a good time, as Pete is about to find out. Pete, I say, my throat constricting, I have to tell you something. I can't wait any longer. I want to apologize. Pete sets his drink down and folds his arms. Here it comes. Been waiting all year for this. I lick my lips. I was jealous. But when you and Kat, keep talking. I glance around the room at everyone. Like them being present makes me really nervous. And that thing with the invitation, I stare at my shoes. There's mud caked around the edges. I couldn't stand the idea of you being with anybody else. I wanted to make it so no one would want you. Not Kat and not Vanessa. I sneer at her name. I don't know if any of the girls here are Vanessa, but I get the feeling Pete's steady girlfriend wouldn't be invited to this kind of party. Pete uncrosses his arms. He looks around the room like he's wondering if everybody else heard the same thing he did. What? I speak really quietly. I make quick eye contact with him, then look away. It's you, Pete. You're the one I didn't want anyone else to have you. We were so close, and then she came along. I glare at Kat, who's asleep and has no idea what I'm saying. She led us both astray. Then I slide my hand over Pete's knee. I've been so lonely without you this year, Pete. Oh no, you are not doing this. Oh, yes I am. I force so much emotion into my voice that tears spring up in my eyes. I've had to hold back all these feelings for you. I just want to know you don't hate me. Pete swears under his breath. He looks around the room for help, but even though everyone is staring at us, nobody offers to pull me off of him. I lunge at Pete, knocking him off the arm of the couch. Pete scrambles to his feet and backs up. Damien, man, this isn't cool. I hold my arms out and walk toward him, like I'm going to hug him. Pete runs out of space and ends up doubling back and hitting the edge of the couch. He topples over it and lands on the cushions below. The blonde girl makes a face and scoots as far away as possible, until I chase after Pete and join him on the couch. Then she jumps up and moves to the other side of the room. Pete! Pete! I moan, sliding my hands under his shirt. He knees me in the stomach, holding me off as I struggle to get closer to him. He's a lot stronger than me. Damien, I'm serious. Just tell me you don't hate me. I don't hate you. Now get off of me. I stop struggling and dive for his belt buckle. Pete takes the bait and sits up to stop me. I've got him right where I want him. Now that he's close enough, I grab his chin with both hands. I put my lips on his and kiss him before he has a chance to fight me off. The kiss involves tongue, or at least my tongue. Pete's doing his best not to reciprocate. When Pete finally manages to push me away, everyone in the room but Kat is watching us with wide eyes and undivided attention. Pete is silent. I can't tell if he feels violated, newly smitten, or if he feels sorry for me and our love that can never be. Pete, I say, sounding guilty, I have another confession to make. Pete nods, too dazed to answer. A grin creeps across my face. I threw up earlier. Okay, so I only almost threw up when Stomach and Lemon Meringue fought it out after the car crash. But Pete doesn't have to know that. Pete's nostrils flare and a vein twitches on his forehead. Damien, you freaking psycho! I take it that's my cue to get off of him before he gets physical. And not like I just did, but in more unpleasant ways, like those of the painful beating variety. All his other guests giggle and snicker at us. That's it! Pete shouts, getting to his feet. Everybody out! Now! I live here, man, one of the guys mutters, but he gets up and shuffles off to one of the bedrooms. I flop down in the chair with Kat. Pete shoos everybody else out and slams the door. He turns off the music, then he glares at me. That means you too, you psychotic little bastard. I put my arm around Kat and glare right back at him. I'm not going anywhere. Unless you want to be the one to explain to her parents how you got her drunk and let her make out with your friends. I smile at him. Don't mess with me, Pete. You never win. Pete grunts and storms out of his own dorm room. I settle in with Kat. She moans and leans her head against my chest. She and I are very cozy as I hunker down, ready to wait the 40 minutes it'll take her parents to get here. It isn't until an hour later that I go find Sarah. I have a big wet puddle of drool on my shirt. Kat's, not mine. And 2 guest passes I swiped from Pete's bulletin board for prospective students and visiting younger siblings who haven't gotten their V's yet. The school puts a couple up in every dorm room with important phone numbers and reminders about Parents' Day. At first, I think Sarah's watching a couple of dogs chasing each other across the lawn. She's sitting on a bench, under a lamppost, scribbling away in her notebook. Then I see it's the couple groping each other behind a tree. Not the dogs. That's caught her interest. I thump down on the bench next to her. I rub my arms, feeling the cold after being inside for so long. It's the middle of March, so it's not exactly winter, but it's not exactly warm out yet either. Was it easy peasy? Sarah asks. Just like everything else. I hand her one of the passes. We have to call an 800 number to activate them. But then they should get us wherever we want to go, as long as it isn't into one of the dorms, which is fine by me. We use the guest cards to get into the main building and head up to Taylor's office. I pretend to be really tired to hide my, reluctance to go up the stairs at a normal pace. It's not hard to fake. I stick close to the wall and cling to the inside railing. They have it on both sides here, and act like I have to haul myself up out of fatigue. Sarah thinks I'm cool, even if she also thinks I'm kind of a wannabe superhero. How awesome would she think I was if she knew I can barely get up the stairs? Yeah, I didn't think so. We get to the office door marked T.M. Lewis, Dean of Vilmore University, and go in. Taylor's office smells like spiced apple cider. I wonder if my house will smell like that when he moves in. If he moves in. What if he expects us to move to his house when he and Mom get married? No way. Mom would never move her lab. Of course, she'd never sleep with a superhero either. There's a bookshelf on one side of Taylor's office, a large desk in the middle, and a coat rack over the far corner, along with 3 filing cabinets. A large book lies open on the desk, next to Taylor's laptop. It looks like a logbook with a list of names of all the supervillain kids who applied to go to Vilmore. Some of the names have stars by them, depending on how likely they are to get in. It's getting late in the submissions process, and Taylor should be making the final decisions and sending out notices soon. Some of the names have already been stamped with accept or reject. My name is at the top of the page. It only has 3 out of 5 stars, and it doesn't have an acceptance stamp yet, which is odd. Next to my name it says, very smart, shows much aptitude for success in villainy, but might not be Vilmore material. What? I double-checked to make sure I read the note next to my name and not someone else's. I can't believe it. Taylor's marrying my mom. That means he's not allowed to say I'm not Vilmore material. I'm excellent material. Has he been drinking Mom's punch? Think of the strain it's going to cause on their relationship if he doesn't let me in. And if in their selfish marital bliss they're too distracted to care that I'm miserable, I'll make them care. I'll have plenty of time for that. There's another note scrawled in the margin of the page, explaining the first one. It says, Damien is clever, but lacks a certain ruthlessness. I believe he has potential, but Vilmore may not be the place to harness it. Mariana tells me he once freed all 20 of her lab rats when he learned she was going to inject them with a possibly fatal concoction. This weakness on its own is not enough to condemn him. However, if he wishes to do well at Vilmore, he'll find there's no place for that kind of sympathy here. On the other hand, he's committed several villainous acts that I find quite interesting. The 3-day Black Plague scare at City Hall, the moths in the butterfly exhibit. All ambitious for his age, but ultimately small-time and frivolous. I take quick, deep breaths. That's not fair. That's so not fair. The lab rat incident was years ago. Okay, only 2, but if Mom didn't want me to get upset about her murdering them, she shouldn't have made them out to be my pets. Did she mention that little fact when she was sharing embarrassing anecdotes about me? The other applicants could have freed thousands of lab rats. Only Taylor doesn't know about it because there wasn't a checkbox for that on the application. And I think I learned my lesson when one of them crawled onto my bed and nibbled my toes. I mistakenly thought the rats and I were friends. What's wrong with that? Taylor said I was ambitious. That has to count for something. And if he thinks my villainous acts are too frivolous, I can kick it up a notch. Bigger, better, more ruthless. Either way, Taylor and I are going to have a talk. Hopefully it will involve me showing him a thorough list of my villainous exploits and explaining to him why I'm Vilmore material incarnate, instead of me getting on my knees and begging him to let me in. Because if I don't get into this school, I will die. End of story. And if I have to, I'll explain to him that if he wants to keep doing my mom, he's going to find a place for me at Vilmore. Because I'm not as sympathetic as he thinks. Are you okay? Sarah's staring at me, her forehead wrinkled in concern. Your breathing definitely sounds off. I'm fine. She comes closer and points at the book. What's that? I slam it shut before she can read my name on the list. The last thing I want right now is Sarah finding out I applied to go to school here. Santa's naughty or nice list. Nothing about your dad. She chews her lip and stares at the floor when I mention him. She jumps when I put my hand on her shoulder. It's okay, I say. We'll find him. No problem. Right. Sarah nods, mumbles something about checking out the coat rack, and slips out of my grasp. I sit down at the desk, shoving the admissions book farther to the side and pulling Taylor's laptop closer. I flip it open and push a button to wake it up. "Hey, Sarah," I say, "what exactly did you do that got your dad in trouble?" Sarah turns pink. She wrings her hands together. "Oh, that. Well, I made this invention and published some articles about it." Footsteps echo in the hall, cutting her off. They come closer and stop in front of the door. Sarah and I look at each other. I shut the laptop and motion that we should hide, and we glance around the room, frantic, but there's nowhere to go. I duck down under the desk, and Sarah crawls in beside me just as the door opens. I know it's Taylor because I hear him humming to himself. My heart beats too hard and too fast in my chest. The laptop spins down and goes silent, and I will Taylor not to notice the sudden change. I feel a little dizzy at the thought of coming all this way and getting caught. Sarah bites her thumbnail, cringing every time Taylor takes a step nearer to her hiding place. He picks up a coffee mug, then sets it back down. He mutters to himself about working too much. His footsteps come around the side of the desk. I don't know about Sarah, but I'm holding my breath and praying. Everything about tonight has been anything but easy, and now Taylor's going to settle in for a rousing bout of late-night paperwork and find us. And then we're going to have a lot of explaining to do. Taylor pulls out his desk chair. Sarah breathes in too sharply, too audibly. I'm sure this is it. Taylor starts to sit down, and then his phone rings. He answers it. "Hello, Sugar Lemon." Sugar Lemon is my mom, and totally nauseating. Just about to do some paperwork." Just about to decide I should get into Vilmore, he means, if he knows what's good for him. "No, I got the message and took care of it. Rutherford is back to normal. I brought the raging mob out from under the mind control. I guess we were wrong about no one saying our trigger word." Rutherford, as in the town full of crazies Sarah and I just escaped from. Now I know why it sounded familiar. It's the same place Taylor was talking about testing Mom's hypno potion on. Whatever bugs Mom's still trying to work out with her potion, it's obviously pretty powerful. Taylor sighs. "You're right, Mariana. I work much too hard. No, I won't this time. I'll be home in less than an hour. I promise." Home? He'd better mean his home, not ours. He hangs up and shoves the chair under his desk, almost crushing my hand. He stomps off, then comes back and grabs the admissions book. So much for marking my name with an accept stamp while he's not looking. How would that be for a villainous act? The door slams shut, but neither of us can move until we're sure he's gone. I feel like I woke up from a bad dream. I take a deep breath. "Damien," Sarah says, leaning over me, "I have a very important question to ask you." She's shaking. I probably am too. I raise an eyebrow, thinking tonight can't get any worse. "Do you have a girlfriend?" She says it so intensely that I think it must have something to do with our mission. Do I have a girlfriend? Let me think. No, I don't. Not after I told her I only wanted to be friends, and then she made out with some guy at a party. No, why? Sarah kisses me. On the mouth. Her lips meet mine, and I close my eyes and put my arms around her without thinking about it. She smells like vanilla and sweat. I lean back, pulling her closer and trying not to think about all the more important things we should be doing, like liberating her dad. But Taylor's obviously going home to Sugar Lemon, not off to harass anybody. I figure Sarah's dad's safe enough and we've got time. Suddenly, everything seems so simple. Sarah's kissing me, and I'm kissing her back, and wondering why I didn't think of this before. This is the girl who came up with a name like Renegade X, and her tongue is touching mine. And she's not like Kat at all. She wouldn't ever change herself to be what people want. I've seen her at school. I know these things. And she likes that I have an X on my thumb, even if I hate it. I pull away from her. Sarah, what are you doing? Taking notes. She has her notebook spread out on the floor beside us, and she's writing like mad in it, while making out with me. I'm getting good data. When I stare at her, she says, "You're obviously more experienced than I am, and you seemed like a good candidate to try this experiment with. Since I'd never kissed anyone before, and now seemed like an ideal time for results. I've read that human beings feel a heightened sense of passion after narrowly escaping danger. And this time, we don't have any zombies chasing us." She pushes her glasses farther up her nose and kisses me again. I don't kiss back. Experiment? That sounds awfully cold, And not like she actually, wants me or anything. Like I'm just a bunch of numbers for her to crunch and put in her database. Sarah gives up and writes more in her notebook. That's what I said. I don't have anyone to compare you to, but you seem pleasing enough. If this session goes well, I might be interested in trying more complicated experiments with you, as long as I'm getting good data. I'll give her good data, all right. Experiments? Like dating? There's a place on 26th Street downtown with the snottiest waiters. I'd be happy if the lady could join me in some troublemaking and snarking back at him. I've even been known to make the chef cry on very special occasions. I hold my arm out, like I'm going to escort her there right now. Oh, well, Sarah takes shallow breaths and counts on her fingers, finding an excuse not to meet my eyes. She grabs her pen and focuses all her attention on her notebook, but doesn't write anything. Don't be ridiculous. She forces out a laugh and shakes her head. We can't go out. We can stay in then. I picture bringing her over to the Tynes house and Amelia making fun of me for having a girlfriend. But that's only because no boys will ever touch her. Damien, she sighs, we can't get involved. What do you call this? If we're going to work together, we have to maintain a professional relationship as sidekick and superhero. I glare at her. You're not my sidekick. I'm not a superhero. There's nothing professional going on. You like me, right? Her whole face turns pink, and she avoids the question. This can never be more than an experiment. So you're only interested in me as a human lab rat? No, I didn't say that. If she says she wants me because I look like the Crimson Flash, I'm going home. Do you like me or not? She doesn't answer, lost in thought, or at least pretending to be. She taps the back end of her pen against her chin. I plan to lose my virginity on top of the Empire State Building, but you're afraid of heights. She sucks air in through her teeth and makes a face. I suppose I can make an exception because I'd rather it was with you. She clams up. Her cheeks redden and her voice gets shrill and she talks really fast when she says, I mean, there'll be plenty of time for landmarks later. Whoa, you want me to... My mind spins. Did she just say she wanted to do what I think she said? With me? And did she also say I was afraid of tall buildings? Anger and a sense of betrayal push away any thoughts about what Sarah wants to do with me in the name of good data. How long has she known? Was it that obvious? And was she just going to let me think my secret was safe while really she knew? Who said I'm afraid of heights? I move to stand up, forgetting I'm under a desk and bonking my head. Don't pretend, it's obvious. Sarah hurries after me as I crawl out from under the desk, not even stopping to grab her notebook first. You're always late for all of your classes that aren't on the ground floor because you wait until the halls are clear to go up the stairs. I know because I have PE when you have English, and I see you trying to go up them when I'm going from the locker room to the gym. You demonstrate classic signs of fear, sweating, trembling in the extremities, and difficulty breathing. Maybe I'm that out of shape. Maybe I have asthma. Did you ever think of that? I grip my teeth and open up Taylor's laptop again. She shakes her head. I've also seen you in your PE class. I sit next to the window in Japanese and I have a good view of the track. You seem fine then. So what day works for you? I think if we meet regularly, we can be at the final stage in another 2 months, maybe less. The laptop finishes waking up. I shove the desk chair out of the way, not bothering to sit down, and start up the find function and search the files for any mention of Dr. Kink. Aren't you worried about helping your dad? Are you kidding? I'm a complete mess, can't you tell? She peers at me through her glasses, studying my face like she thinks I might be joking. Research calms me down. Yeah, sure it does. I don't like feeling betrayed and used. I've gone through enough of that with Kat, and Sarah doesn't even like me. I'm just another research project to her. I clench my fists as the search results pop up on the computer. I'm not your science experiment. Sarah sighs, then pushes me out of the way to get a better look at the screen. You're being unreasonable. I pretend I didn't hear her and glance over her shoulder. Most of the results are copies of articles Dr. Kink wrote. One of the files is labeled Guest Check-In. Right. Try that one, I say, pointing at the screen. Sarah double-clicks, and a spreadsheet opens up. She searches for Kink, and it jumps to his entry. His check-in is dated a little under 2 weeks ago, right after someone, knocked over a certain hypno device in their mom's lab. It says he's staying in basement suite 4. The basement, Sarah whispers. That sounds dangerous, ominous, and not exactly the 5-star hotel the check-in file would have us believe. We can get a key from the main office down the hall. Nope. Don't say no problem. And you are being unreasonable, you know. She gets up from the desk and adjusts her glasses, glaring at me. We could learn a lot from each other. I realize I'm inexperienced, but I believe the results could be pleasing enough for both of us. She might not know how to flatter a guy, but she does have a point. I spent all this time chasing Kat, only to turn her down when I find out she wants me. Everything with Kat has gotten so complicated, and it seems like no matter what I do to avoid it, I'm going to get hurt. She's dangerous, and Sarah seems pretty safe in comparison. And I like Sarah well enough. She's interesting and thinks I'm cool, and I can't say I'm not tempted by the idea of experimenting with her. An easy relationship? One that only involves fooling around? Kat and I aren't together. We're over. She proved that at the party earlier. So I'm free to do whatever I want. And right now, all I want is to fill Sarah's notebook with plenty of good data. I take both of Sarah's hands in mine. Here's the deal. Neither of us messes around with anybody else. She nods. But it can't be more than that. You're not my boyfriend. Done. Good thing I don't want to be, or my feelings might get hurt. I let go of her and hold my hand out to shake on it. She spits in her palm first, even though I didn't. When we've sealed the deal, Sarah grabs her bag and her notebook from under the desk, and I wipe her spit on the side of my pant leg. She throws her backpack over one shoulder, and we head for the door. Oh, and Sarah, I say, stopping her before we go into the hall. One more condition. Yes, Renegade? I choose the experiments. Chapter 12. We stop by the main office, which is deserted at this time of night, and grab the key to Dr. Kink's room. By the time we get to the basement, Sarah's got practically a whole rulebook written up for our non-dating experiments. It's like the tabletop RPG version of messing around. It's great. The more rules she adds, the more excited I am about this. But I'm not going to tell her that. I get the feeling she likes thinking I'm upset about it. Like the rules cramp my style or something. And if we meet at my house, Sarah says, you're my lab partner. And if you come over to my house, I'm telling everyone you're a hooker I picked up on St. Street. You're in training, so I get a discount. Like getting your hair cut by student barbers. Sarah scowls. I'm not writing that one down. If we go to any dances, I wag my finger at her as we round the last corner. Dances is dating. Please. Everybody only goes to dances for 5 minutes to get their pictures taken, then goes somewhere to make out. Plus, dancing is physical. It's part of the experience. How are you going to explain going to dances with your lab partner? Sarah grins at me. I'll tell everyone you couldn't find anybody else. I have a pink dress, so don't wear anything that clashes with that. Oh, man. If we ever go to one of those things, I'm showing up in a red and yellow zoot suit with green polka dots and no pants. But I'll bring her a corsage, of course. Define clash. But Sarah isn't listening because we're there. She slams her notebook shut and shouts, Daddy! At the door marked B4. She doesn't even ask me for the key I grabbed from the office. She just fishes it out of my pocket without my permission. What are the rules on that? And shoves it in the lock. There's a click and the knob turns, and I feel a wonderful sense of relief because tonight is finally over. It's after midnight and I've skipped school, hijacked a train, and stolen a car. I'm going to be in so much trouble when I get home, but Gordon can go ahead and yell at me because I'll be asleep. It's not over. The doors swing open to reveal a dark, cramped little room. There's a tile floor and a bed in the corner with only a thin white sheet and a pillow to match. A sickeningly sweet smell, like there's meat rotting under the bed or something, mixes with the chemical scent of floor cleaner. It's definitely not what I'd call a suite, though it's thankfully not as gruesome as I was picturing either. Just awful. And not somewhere I'd want to find anyone I knew. Speaking of not finding anyone, there's no Dr. Kink. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It could mean they let him go already. but probably not. Sarah runs in, panic twisting her face. She grabs something off the floor and holds it up for me. This is the tie I got him for Christmas. It's red and green, the only real colors in the room, and has actual tiny Christmas lights on it. Sarah flips the switch to turn them on, but they must have burned out. He was wearing this the day he disappeared, she says. He's been gone since December? No, since last weekend. I don't ask who wears Christmas lights in March. And I don't mention what a coincidence it is that her father disappeared after I broke Sarah's hypnodevice. After seeing Sarah's handiwork on the gun she made me, I'm sure that the garage sale reject contraption Mom had in her lab was pure Sarah. It could be a case of like father, like daughter. But I'm pretty certain inventing that device is what Sarah did to get her dad in trouble. She mentioned him publishing some articles, and Taylor said it was like Dr. King didn't understand his own invention. I'm putting two and two together, and it looks like Mom and Taylor got the wrong kink. I put my hand on Sarah's shoulder. Is comforting her in the rulebook? Come on, Sarah. It's late, and he's not here. She shrugs me off and runs to the bed in the corner, searching the sheet and checking under the mattress. There has to be some clue. He'd know I'd try to find him. He wouldn't just disappear. Sarah stops and takes a long, slow breath, shutting her eyes and tilting her head back a little. She looks like she's trying not to cry. When she gets a hold of herself, she says, I know what you're thinking, but he's not dead. He can't be. I shove my hands in my pockets. They probably wouldn't kill him. They want him to fix the... I catch myself and shut up before I reveal I know a lot more than Sarah's told me. I mean, they probably need him for something, so... She shakes her head. You don't know supervillains. They're ruthless, and they don't care who they hurt or how much. Right. She's upset, so I ignore how offensive she's being. I feel a twinge of guilt for agreeing to do experiments with her, since right now she sounds just like everybody else. A hero worshiper who thinks all villains are pure evil. Like we're not people with homes and families and stuff. Does her not wanting to go out with me for reals have to do with the fact I'm only half hero? I guess in her mind it's okay to use villains. Don't look at me like that, she says. Your ex means you're only half villain, and you were raised by the Crimson Flash. I didn't mean you. Okay, that's it. Do I really act like I was raised by that cape-wearing idiot? Do I rescue orphans or help little old ladies cross the street? No, I do not. Sarah, I think we've seen enough. He's not here and it's time to go. We can't leave. This is my fault. It was my invention that got him here. I wrote some articles about it, but I didn't think anyone would take them seriously if they were by someone still in high school, so I put his name on them. Then someone stole my invention, and then they kidnapped him. What are you doing here? A girl about our age appears in the doorway. She's got curly brown hair and blue eyes and a security badge that reads Henrietta Stone. She's casually holding a ray gun that's about to slip from her fingers, along with a bag of Cheetos and a Cherry Coke Zero. As the seriousness of the situation dawns on her, she drops her snacks and adjusts her grip on the gun, wavering between pointing it at me and Sarah. I go on a vending machine run for 5 minutes, and this is what happens. She mutters under her breath about being so screwed. She's screwed? What about us? We're the ones with the weapon pointed at us. If you're looking for Dr. Kink, Henrietta says, he's busy in the torture chamber. She starts to laugh, then chews her lip. Hey, you! She focuses the gun on Sarah. I've seen a picture of you in his wallet. I fake like I'm going to rush past her to take the heat off of Sarah and keep her from asking more questions. It works. Henrietta aims the ray gun at me. She stands so her feet are shoulder length apart, kicking her Cheetos and soda out of her way on the floor. Her hands shake, but we're still too close for that to make me feel better. Henrietta fires at me. I don't know if her finger slipped or if she meant for it to happen. I duck, narrowly avoiding the beam of green light that zaps through the room. I smell burning hair and realize my evasion wasn't 100% successful. The ray hits the wall behind me, sending chunks of plaster flying through the air and spewing dust everywhere. Henrietta gapes at us, stunned by her own actions. Sarah rummages through her bag, but I grab her arm and shout, "Run!" We push past Henrietta, shoving her to the ground, and my foot lands on the Cheetos with a satisfying crunch. I almost slip on the bag, but I recover and keep moving. Behind us, Henrietta swears and takes a walkie-talkie off of her belt. "Pete," she shrieks, "I need backup." "Hello?" She makes a frustrated noise to rival one of Amelia's. "He's never around," she mutters, then screams at the top of her lungs, "Security! Security breach in basement corridor!" I hear doors open in several directions. Crap. Sarah pulls me into a side hallway. She stops to catch her breath and digs through her bag until she finds the gun she made. "Did you hear her?" she says. "The torture chamber. We have to get him out of there." "Sarah, listen to me." I'm breathing hard, almost too much to talk. "The bad guys will be here any second. They're going to catch us, and then we'll be in the torture chamber." Well, I won't, but Sarah doesn't need to know that. I don't want her getting hurt, and I don't want my mom or Taylor finding out I was here. "There's another way. We don't have to do this." Sarah fiddles with the panels on the gun, sliding them around and pushing the buttons on top. She does it in a sequence of blue, red, yellow. "Here. This should give them a taste of their own medicine. Aim for their heart." I hold my hands up to ward off the gun when she tries to give it to me. "Are you crazy? I'm not gonna kill anybody." "It's okay, you're half villain. You can do it." Is she nuts? I thought she wanted me to be a hero. And what does she think we villains do? Just go around slaughtering people? There she goes with her offensive stereotypes again. Plus, there are a lot of bad guys coming for us, and only one of me. Brute force isn't my style, and it isn't going to get us out of this. Footsteps come tromping down the hall, at least 3 or 4 sets of them. Someone shouts, "Found him!" And then more people join in the chase. I grab the gun from Sarah, and we both take off running. "Sarah," I gasp, "you have to trust me." We turn down another hallway, only to find it blocked by 3 more members of Vilmore security, all packing ray guns. We leap out of the way just as all 3 fire at us. There's a loud exploding sound as the rays hit the wall. If we get caught, I have a feeling my tuition's going to have some added expenses tacked on. Assuming all this doesn't completely ruin my chances of getting in. "We're not going to find your dad like this," I tell Sarah, wishing I didn't have to talk and run at the same time. "We can't leave him here." She stumbles on the carpet as another ray gun blast misses her foot, blowing a hole in the floor. We hit a dead end. Sort of. We reach the elevator, and I punch the up button over and over. There are about 10 security guards, plus Henrietta closing in on us. "Use your weapon, Renegade," Sarah shouts. "Shoot them!" I hold the gun up, but I don't want to use it. "Cosign, if I told you I could get your dad out of here, but we'd have to leave right now, would you believe me?" Sarah looks to the elevator doors, which are still closed, and to the Vilmore security force. The security guard closest to the front eyes the gun I'm holding, in all its garage sale chic, and he actually smiles. A smug, nasty smile that sends unpleasant shivers up my spine. Sarah grabs my shoulder. "Do something!" "Do you believe me?" "Yes, anything, just get us out of here!" I swallow and aim the gun. The security guards go tense, but don't shoot. Henrietta hangs out near the back, ducking behind them. There's no way I could shoot them all before they took us down, if I was crazy enough to listen to Sarah. It's easy for her to tell me to do the dirty work. She sees me as a hero, but I'm half villain when it's convenient. In one quick motion, I point the gun at the ceiling and fire. A blue laser flashes. Huge chunks of plaster and wood and debris rain down on the security guards. A couple crumple to the ground, buried in ceiling remains. The others cough and wipe at their eyes to get the dust out. The elevator doors ding open. I shove Sarah through and push the button for the ground floor as fast as I can. I surprise Helen when I drag myself into the house at almost 2:30 a.m. Once we got out of the elevator, Sarah and I were able to evade Vilmore's security long enough to get off campus and find our way to the train station. The last train didn't leave until after 1, hence my late arrival back at the Tynes house. I was hoping I could sneak in unnoticed, since Amelia tells me we're not allowed out after 9 on a school night. But after hijacking a train, stealing a car, and causing massive damage to my future alma mater, coming home late is the least of my crimes. Helen's sitting at the dining room table in her pajamas, reading a book. She gasps when I open the door and puts a hand over her heart. "Oh, Damien, you startled me." "I didn't think you'd be up." To catch me sneaking in at all hours of the night, which is apparently frowned upon. Mom wouldn't care when I was out. She has a tendency to get cranky if I wake her up at ungodly hours or disturb her lab time, but that's it. "I couldn't sleep, so..." Helen sets her book down, her brows furrowing. "Hey, you all right there? You look exhausted. What happened to the sleepover?" Apparently, she didn't get the memo about what a horrible, misbehaving stepson I am. I stand in the doorway, my mouth gaping open, not sure what to say. "Things didn't go so well at Joe's, huh?" "Joe? Who the hell is Joe?" I play along and shake my head. "Amelia said you were staying over. I figured your phone call to Gordon earlier might have had something to do with you wanting to be scarce tonight." She sighs. "What happened? You change your mind, kid?" Well..." I scratch the side of my head and tromp into the kitchen. I haven't eaten anything since the lemon meringue, and that was hours ago. "Joe and I got in a fight." "What?" She heaves herself up from her chair. "About what?" Judging by her level of surprise, she must be under the impression that I'm some kind of saint. Despite knowing about my phone call to Gordon, I guess acting out against my dad, who recently tried to kill me, is one thing. Getting in a fight with a supposed sleepover buddy is another. I grab a box of crackers from the cupboard. I stuff some into my mouth as I say, "Well, he didn't like it when I kissed him." Helen pales. She stops in her tracks, too shocked to come comfort me. She blinks a couple of times. "You kissed him?" Cracker crumbs spill from my mouth. "To see what it was like." "How was it?" I shrug. "I've had better." Helen laughs and pats me on the shoulder. "Guys are jerks." "Oh, yes. Down with Joe. Good riddance to him." I chug down a glass of water to go with all the crackers. Maybe tomorrow I'll eat something real after I've slept. "Gordon wasn't too happy you were going to stay out on a school night, especially after your phone call. But I told him you needed space, and it was good you were making friends. I won't tell him it didn't work out if you won't." I promise her I won't say anything. She says goodnight, chuckling to herself over my exploits, and goes to bed. I turn out the lights and flop down on the couch. I'm already half asleep when I hear the attic stairs creak, and then Amelia pokes me in the shoulder. "Psst, Damien?" I open my eyes, which is a mistake because she has a flashlight. I squint and shield my face with my arm. "Put that away!" I ward off her flashlight, covering the bright end with my hand. It glows red, but at least I'm not blind. Amelia points it at the floor. She kneels down beside me and whispers, "There was a message on the machine from the school about you not showing up today." I erased it. "Aw, for me? You shouldn't have." So much sarcasm oozes out of my voice. Even someone as thick as Amelia could pick up on it. "I told Mom you were at a friend's house, so you wouldn't get in trouble for not coming home." "Oh, great! Too bad none of that makes up for what you did. Dr. Wiggles finally got his degree, only so you could kill him." "I said I was sorry." Her voice is tight and small. You thought I'd forgive you if you covered for me?" I raised myself up on one arm. "I thought you wanted me out of here. You could have done us both a favor and let me get into trouble." Okay, I'm kind of glad she did what she did, because I've had enough hassle tonight. I didn't need to deal with Gordon getting mad at me for coming home late, too. But on the plus side, if Gordon got mad enough to kick me out, Mom would have to take me back early. I shouldn't have done that to Dr. Wiggles, Amelia goes on. I got carried away because I was mad. I should have believed you about blue bunnykins. I've caught Alex playing with him before, but... She scrapes her fingernail against the rim of the flashlight. Her eyes shift back and forth, too guilty to meet mine. I didn't blame you because you're a supervillain. I did it because I was jealous, okay? I jumped to conclusions. You got me thrown off a building. Does she expect me to let that go? Because she says she's sorry? I didn't know Dad was going to... Oh, I think you did. Okay, I didn't know you'd take it so badly. I glare at her. I didn't know you were almost going to die. Her eyes meet mine for the first time in this conversation. She sets her flashlight down on the floor, so the glow from the light creeps around the edge of the couch. I thought you'd tell Dad you didn't want to do it, and then he'd see how you don't belong with us, how he shouldn't have brought you here. And then he'd see how great you are, since you're chomping at the bit to get your flying power going. Dad told us what happened, how he couldn't save you and thought you weren't going to make it. First, I was mad at you for not saying no. You didn't have to try and fly. You went on and on about how you're a villain, didn't have flying power, so I thought you were stupid for going along with it. But then I was mad at myself for betraying you. You're my brother, and... She grits her teeth and sucks it up. And maybe you wouldn't be so bad if I got to know you. So I'm glad you're not dead. Thanks, I think. I want you to know, Amelia, that I feel the exact same way. A hint of a smile plays across her lips. I'm glad I'm not dead, too. The smile wilts. She punches me in the shoulder, then she lowers her voice, talking so quietly that I can barely hear her. Did you really kiss a boy? Wouldn't you like to know? She's silent for a while. I'm drifting off when she says, Damien, I tried to fix Dr. Wiggles for you. I taped him back together, but he's not the same. Her voice gets higher and louder the longer she goes on. I really am sorry. I sewed up Blue Bunnykins. He's all right, but Dr. Wiggles is really dead. I killed him. Shh. I reach out and poke her cheek. It's okay. It's going to be, I think. I'm too tired to fully assess how I feel about her apology and her confession of not hating my guts. Sleep now. Grovel later. Amelia gets up and hovers over me. She keeps making sounds like she wants to say something else. Finally, she says, Damien, do you hate me because I'm a superhero? If I wasn't already half asleep, I might tell her that her being a superhero is the least of the reasons she's given me to not like her. Instead, all I manage to do is mumble, no. Good, she says, sounding like she means it. And I don't know what happens after that because I'm finally asleep. Chapter 13. I'm so glad you didn't let me come home, I tell Mom Tuesday morning before school. I'm sitting at the dining table, forging a note from Gordon saying to forgive my absence yesterday since I was too busy recovering from a nasty fall I had this weekend. One that left me emotionally scarred for life, and that was all his fault. What? Mom yawns on the other end of the phone. She wasn't awake when I called. Not the first 5 times, anyway. I was having trouble adjusting at first. I pause to get the flair on the G of Gordon's name right. But now everything's great. All I needed to do was give it some time. Damien, it's 6 a.m. Did you know superheroes get up early? I've been up since 5. Can't wait to start the day, you know? I got up 20 minutes ago, and only because of the rest of the house was awake, stomping around while I was trying to sleep. I had to race Amelia and shove her out of the way to get a turn in the bathroom. And when I looked in the mirror, my hair was lopsided because someone had to shoot at me with a ray gun. That first blast from Henrietta singed off the ends of my hair on one side. Could be worse. There could be a bald spot or a racing stripe instead of only being uneven, but still. This is the thanks I get for helping out Sarah, and it's not over. Mom, you'll never believe how many nice superhero girls I've met. They're totally hot and extra friendly. 3 hero girls want me to call them tonight. One might want to go all the way, but I'm okay with that. I can see myself settling down with her, having some kids. I put the finishing touches on my fake note from Gordon and give it a second to dry. Damian, Mom growls. She knows I'm saying these things to piss her off, but that doesn't mean it's not working. What happened to Kat? You see, the thing about Kat is she's not what I'd call my type anymore. All that villainy and, taking up with other guys. Would one of these new girls happen to be Dr. Kink's daughter? Whoa. How does she do that? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. Plus, Sarah's not a superhero. Must be a generation gap. Could you use hipper slang? Gordon wanders through the room, all dressed for work in his cape and leotard. I stuff the note I forged into my pocket before he can see it. He glares at me. We need to have a talk, he says, about appropriate use of Q&A sessions. I point to the phone, indicating I can't be bothered. He clenches his fist and seems like he's going to have it out with me right there, whether I'm on the phone or not. But then he takes a deep breath, gets a hold of himself, and continues on into the kitchen. Mom's tone is serious business. Taylor got a phone call last night. 2 kids broke into the room where they were holding Dr. Kink at Vilmore. One of them turned out to be his daughter. Messy blonde hair and glasses. Does that ring any bells, sweetie? Because the other description sounded a lot like a certain beloved son of mine who I know would never betray me like that. No bells are going off, honestly. But since you brought it up, I've been doing a little internet research. Dr. Kink is a biologist, not a hypno device maker. I think your problem with him is you might have gotten confused. It was probably a different Dr. Kink who wrote those articles and made the prototype. We found it in his house. Probably his cousin or his sibling then. Or someone could have stashed it to make it look like it was his. Either way, I think you've got the wrong guy. Mom sighs. That's very astute of you. Taylor and we were starting to think the same thing. Gordon's phone rings. I hear him answer it in the kitchen with a groggy, hello? So you're going to let him go, right? Damian, he's not a lab rat. We can't go around letting everyone go. But Mom, he's not the right guy. He has a life to live, biology students to teach. Maybe he can still go back to that if you didn't mess him up too much. No, I don't know, Damian. His daughter knows where we kept him. Could be a liability. But it's already a liability then, so letting him go doesn't change anything. Plus, what's she gonna do? Go to the police? You can cover it up. Dr. Kink's still a brilliant scientist. You wouldn't want to kill off someone in the profession, would you? Well, I think I have her. We'll see. Typical mom answer. You really don't know this Sarah Kink girl? Never heard of her. I'm totally not on a 2-month plan for getting into her pants. A plan she came up with, not me. I said I was going to choose the experiments, but that one can definitely stay. Are you sure? Because if it was you last night, it wasn't. I was singing folk songs with my new family after eating dinner together, and then we all hugged for an hour. I was way too busy to break into Vilmore to find some guy I've never met with a girl I don't even know. Good, sweetie, because I remember the lab rat incident, and I wouldn't want to repeat it. Behavior like that isn't conducive to making the history books as a first-rate supervillain, and it's not going to turn your ex into a V. Taylor and I have put a lot of work into this project, and if this girl is part of the puzzle... I miss what Mom says next, because Gordon suddenly shouts from the kitchen. What? Dear God! No, I was about to go to work, but of course it can wait. This is serious. He hangs up, runs his hands through his hair, and then marches up to me at the dining table. What was that, Mom? I couldn't hear you. Someone wasn't respecting my personal audio bubble. Hang up, Gordon says. Hold on, I tell him. Damien, hang up the phone now. Is that man telling you what to do? Mom says. Because you tell him from me that he's not going to order my son around. Gordon reaches over and rips my phone out of my hand and flips it shut. Come on, let's go. He tries to grab my wrist, but I have to pull away from him. Oh no, last time I went anywhere with you, you pushed me off a building. I'm staying put. It's an emergency. Gordon motions for me to get out of the chair. We need everyone we can get, even you. Wow, even me? I'm so honored. For the record, emergencies aren't my thing. It was poor word choice on Gordon's part, because he could have told me he wanted to take me out for ice cream or to get me my own puppy. Something he might imagine was pleasant and that I might conceivably go for. Dragging me out of the house at 6 in the morning to go to some emergency that I presume has nothing to do with me or anyone I care about? Try again. I'm not giving you a choice, Gordon says. I hate to do this the hard way, but we don't have time to argue. He lifts the back 2 legs of my chair off the ground and tilts it to one side so I slide off. He grabs my arm so I don't fall and drags me out to the car. Come on, son. It's time you find out what superheroes are really like. This big superhero emergency Gordon's dragged me to at almost the crack of dawn is a burning apartment building. 4 stories of spewing flames light up the dark morning. Clouds of black smoke fill the sky. Bystanders gather around the scene, sipping their lattes and pointing up at the building. The police motion for them to keep back, while the fire department and a couple superheroes fight to stop the flames. Gordon parks the car, badly, on the far side of the street and tears his seatbelt off. I'm tempted to stay right here. What the hell is he thinking, bringing me to a dangerous scene like this? I'm all ready with my spiel about staying in the car instead of getting within burning to death range, but Gordon doesn't say anything to me. He brought me here to help, or so he said, but he flings open the door and jumps out without closing it. He leaves the keys in the ignition. I'm surprised he turned the car off. I'm just going to stay here, I mutter to no one. No, it's okay. You go ahead. I'll watch. Gordon runs across the street, not looking both ways first, like he teaches kids on TV, and gets to work, only pausing to check with one of the firefighters. There's a superhero with freeze breath using his power on the ground floor, but that doesn't do anything for the upper stories. The firefighters hurry to get a ladder up, while Gordon takes to the air and zooms up the side of the building and into a 4th-story window. Another hero with super strength helps the firefighters with the hose. I watch as a couple others catch Gordon's insanity and run inside the burning building. If Gordon really wanted me to help, why'd he ditch me? Maybe when he got here, he decided I was a useless supervillain and the best thing to do was to get going before I could ask questions and get in the way. Flames shoot out of the same window Gordon flew through only a half a minute ago. My heart stops. I've only known the guy a couple weeks and I don't care that he's technically my dad, but cold fear runs up and down my spine anyway and leaves me shaking. I fumble to get my seatbelt off and think about how mad I am at my father, who might be dead now. Thanks a lot, Gordon. You not only push me off a building, but you bring me to this gigantic bonfire so you can get yourself killed. Great. I suppose he expects me to deliver the news to his now fatherless family since I was a witness and everything. I get out of the car and stumble across the street, dazed and silently cursing Gordon for getting me into this mess. I feel the heat from the fire, making me sweat as I get closer. He'd better not be dead. I haven't paid him back enough for the whole flying lesson thing. It's only been a couple days. He hasn't even discovered the worms in his shampoo yet. I push my way to the front of the crowd. I try not to move past, but a policeman holds his hand up, signaling for me not to come any closer. Sorry, kid. You better stay back. I'm with the Crimson Flash. The words fall out of my mouth before I have time to remember I'm ashamed to be associated with him. He's my dad. The policeman looks me over. I can tell he's about to say no anyway, when Gordon bursts out of a 3rd-story window, carrying 2 small children. His face is smudged with ash, and his cape's a little tattered, but he's alive. He sets the kids down, and a couple of paramedics rush to their aid. I picture what it would be like to be trapped high up in a fire with no way to get down and nothing to do but wait for the flames to kill you. My palms clam up and an overwhelming burst of terror jolts me into action. I push past the policeman and make a run for it. He moves to come after me, but Gordon motions that it's okay. The guy with the freeze breath is up on the ladder now, blowing ice into the second-story windows. He looks dizzy, like he's been taking too many deep breaths. As I'm thinking that, he loses his balance and topples to the ground. He lands with a heavy thud. I imagine falling and feel like I'm going to throw up. Okay, I tell Gordon, I'm here. He should be happy I got out of the car, and he didn't even have to nag me about it. I'm doing what he brought me here for, unasked. What do you want me to... He doesn't stick around to tell me what to do, or even to say. Oops, sorry I scared you, son. What with rushing into that burning building and all. As Gordon flies back into the building, I feel abandoned and alone. I'm standing in the middle of a bunch of commotion because the Crimson Flash told a police officer it was okay for me to be past the line of ordinary citizens. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have brought me here to help and then run off without telling me what to do. I stand here, getting in the way, utterly useless and totally overwhelmed by all of this. The flames crackle, and the crowd makes ooh and ah noises every time a superhero uses their power or drags a victim out of the burning building. The freeze guy gets off the ground and climbs back up the ladder. One of his arms is bleeding and is bent funny. He doesn't look any steadier than he did before, but that's not stopping him. There's a loud crash, and then 2 more superheroes come running out of the apartment building. They're empty-handed. They stop to catch their breath. Gordon zooms outside again, a cat clinging to his shoulder with all its claws, the end of his cape catching on fire as flames bust out another window. I guess he's lucky if all he has to worry about is his cape and getting mauled by a house cat. He's about to go in for more when a fireman stops him. I run over to them and hear something about the structure not being sound and it getting too dangerous. Gordon nods and joins the other superheroes. I trail after him like a lost puppy. I don't know if he remembers I'm here. The kids think there's one more in there, a superhero in a bright green spandex outfit says. Second story, but we couldn't find him. The front of his costume proclaims him Ace Quickspeed. Guess what his power is? Gordon bites his lip. Jeff tells me the building's not sound. We can't risk it. Not on a maybe. When we get the flames out, we'll send in a team. So you're going to let that kid die? This is me talking, and not one of the superheroes like you'd expect. I'm a lousy, no-good villain. And I think they should go back in. They're supposed to be the good guys, and they're acting like letting some kid burn to death is okay. So much for superheroes being brave and, well, heroes. All 3 of them stare at me, like they didn't notice I existed until this point. Even Gordon looks shocked by my presence. He scratches the side of his head. You can't wait, I tell him. That kid'll be dead by the time you get the fire out. Plus, the structure's not getting any sounder. Gordon puts his hands on my shoulders. Damien, listen, there's nothing we can do. We don't know if anyone's still in there. The building's about to collapse, and it's likely whoever we send in won't make it back out. If I knew for sure there was someone in there, that would be a different story. But as is. He shakes his head. I gape at him in shock. You're supposed to be a superhero. You can't say that. Damien, calm down. Sometimes these things happen. But somebody could be trapped. What if it was maybe Jessica in there, or Alex? Or even Amelia. Wouldn't you want someone to save them? The 3 superheroes all share nervous looks. Is this what superheroes really do? I ask. Stand around whining about how dangerous it is? Gordon's eyebrows come together. I don't like this part of the job any more than you do, but that's how it is. Being a hero means having to make hard choices. Sometimes the hardest choices involve letting other people get hurt. Don't worry, the other superhero mutters. He's wearing a blue costume with a picture of a raindrop on the front. The kids from a family of supervillains might do everybody more good if we don't go in. I'm seriously the only one who reacts to that. Gordon says, Damien, he didn't mean it. When my eyes go wide and I glare at the guy so hard, I think I might burn a hole through him, even without laser eyes. But other than that, nobody says anything because nobody cares. That's why you're not going in? I shout. I might hate superheroes, and I might not be keen on rescue missions, but there's no way I'm going to stand around not even trying. Gordon's insanity must be hereditary, because I turn and run toward the burning building. The one that's about to fall apart and that the superheroes are afraid to go into. Damien, no! Gordon calls after me, but I barely hear him. A blast of heat hits me in the face when I get close to the building. I ignore it and hurl myself through the open doorway. The heat's overwhelming, and smoke burns my lungs, choking me. I cough and my eyes water, and it's hot as hell in here, and I can't tell where I'm going. Everything's on fire. Beams from the ceiling have fallen down in places. One of them blocks the end of the hallway, but luckily not the stairs. They said second story. Great. I gather up all my courage. There's no time to worry about my phobia. I tell myself I'm probably going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter. I feel sick all over and lightheaded as I force myself up the stairs. It's only one set, just up to the second story, and then I'm home free. Still stuck inside a burning death trap, but now's not the time to think about that. My lungs ache and I stop for a coughing fit. The stairs creak and the boards a couple steps down from where I'm standing crack and fall, succumbing to the flames. It doesn't take any more motivation than that to get my legs moving. I hurry the rest of the way to the second story landing, ignoring the searing pain in my lungs. I turn down a hallway, hoping this is right. I struggle to find enough breath to call out, "Is anybody here?" No one answers, but I hear an explosion of flame and then a scream down another hallway. I run toward the sound. As soon as I take a step, a beam falls where I was standing. The idea that I narrowly avoided getting crushed and burned to death crosses my mind, and so does the fact that my way out is now blocked. But I make myself focus on getting to whoever's still in here. I call out again when I reach the end of the hall. A shrill little kid voice screams for help, and I turn to the room on my left. The door's open, but a hole in the floor separates me from the little girl huddled on the other side of the room. She's Alex's age and wearing a pink nightgown, clutching a teddy bear for dear life. I can hardly breathe now from the smoke, and the burning in my lungs is wearing me out. I'm coming! I shout. It takes a lot more effort than it should and starts me coughing. The little girl looks up at me just in time to pass out from lack of oxygen and slump against the wall. I'm getting really dizzy, and my vision is going dim. There's a giant flaming hole in the floor, and there's no way I can get to her. I wonder why I even came in here. And then I hear Gordon's voice shouting, "Damien!" And suddenly he's grabbing my arm. He tries to pull me away from the scene. I don't have a lot of strength left, but I manage to dig my heels into the floor just enough to stop him. "She's still in there!" I croak. Without hesitating, Gordon rushes in and flies over the gaping hole. He grabs the girl, limp under one arm, and gets out right as the ceiling collapses and the window bursts. He shouts, "Hold on!" and grabs me around the waist before flying all three of us to safety. Once we're outside, he sets me down and hands the little girl to the paramedics. Then he grabs my shoulders and looks like he's going to yell at me. Instead, he pulls me to him and hugs me. It's when he lets go that the yelling starts. "What did you think you were doing? Damien, you could have been killed. Do you understand me?" I try to talk, but end up coughing instead. When the coughing fit is over, I say, "You weren't going to save her because she's a villain. You think she's better off dead, that society's better off without people like her. Like me." "I didn't say that. You went along with it." "No, Damien, it wasn't safe. You proved that. What would I have done if you'd gotten yourself killed?" "What would you tell Mom, you mean?" I kick at a pebble on the ground. I'm tired of arguing with him. I wander, dazed, across the street and climb into the passenger seat of the car. Gordon follows me and gets in the driver's seat. He doesn't turn the car on. "I'm so mad at you right now," he says. "You disobeyed me, and you could have gotten seriously hurt, if not worse. But I want you to know I'm also proud of you. You did what you thought was right." He puts his hands on the steering wheel, even though he's not actually driving, and stares out the front window. "I respect that. It's more than I would have done at your age. I know that probably doesn't mean much, coming from a superhero, and you don't seem to care at all that I'm your father, other than to ridicule me for it. But I hope someday you can get something out of it." I remember how useless I felt throughout all of this, and especially standing on the edge of that gaping hole that separated me from that kid. It occurs to me now that I'm even more useless than I thought, because I can fly. A lot of good that power does me. Even if I wanted to act like some superhero and use it, like to say, help a little girl from a burning building instead of standing there like an idiot. How useful would it be if I could only get a couple inches off the ground before having a panic attack? But Gordon wasn't useless. He could have left me there. He could have saved only me and not her. but he came through in the end. I catch myself thinking maybe he's not so bad, and that I don't mind him being my dad as much as I thought. Well, I mutter, half hoping he won't hear me. It might mean something. Making out with Sarah in front of the spandex kids' lockers during lunch on Wednesday isn't what I originally had in mind for phase 2 of my plan, but it seems to be working really well. And not just on the spandex kids. Everyone who passes us is grossed out. Oh my God, I hear Jill mutter when she shows up for lunch, the heels of her shoes clicking on the floor. The spandex kids are too cool to eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. They prefer to sit in the hall near the lockers and make fun of anyone who walks by. Jill's and Marty's lockers are right next to each other. Sarah and I are pressed up against both, so neither of them can get to their stuff. We're also standing right where they usually sit to eat. I feel Sarah go a little tense when she hears Jill's voice, but she doesn't stop kissing me. She slides her tongue against mine. Her mouth tastes like spearmint gum. Ew, gross! It's the dork brigade! Marty says. Get rid of him, Wes! I hear some mutterings of reluctance and glance over Sarah's shoulder. Jill and Marty and 3 other members of their spandex posse are keeping their distance from us while still trying to seem menacing. Looks of pure disgust on their faces. They're all holding lunch trays full of breaded mystery meat and fake mashed potatoes. I close my eyes and moan a little, pulling Sarah closer to me. I can almost feel the wave of revulsion pass over our audience. Isn't that the kid that got you with the scorpions? Someone, presumably Wes, asks. He doesn't sound like he's coming to get rid of us anytime soon. So? Marty says. He's a loser. Don't tell me you're afraid. Like you're not? Wes mutters. I heard he's like an actual supervillain or something. He's not cool enough to be a supervillain. Plus, I'm not scared even if he is. They're going to make me vomit, and I haven't even eaten yet, Jill says, sounding extra snotty, probably to make up for the fact that she doesn't want to be the one to try and stop us. We can't eat with them here, so somebody get moving. I'm not sure if she's talking to us or to her posse. I'm not touching them, Wes says. Like they can't hear us talking about them? Someone else adds. I slide my hands under Sarah's shirt, and she reaches for the waist of my jeans. Various shouts of ew and phrases such as loser shouldn't breed escape the spandex kids. My food's getting cold, Jill whines, her heels clicking against the floor as she turns to leave. Let's go, Marty says. He takes a step toward us and adds, but these freaks better not be here tomorrow if they know what's good for them. I smile as I listen to them leave, waiting until I'm sure they're gone before breaking away from Sarah. I'd call that a success, wouldn't you? Her face is flushed, and she takes a second to catch up on her breathing. 100%. I suppose you'll want to write down all the good data Sarah reaches up and caresses the side of my face. There's something sensual about it, and it's definitely not the way you'd touch someone who's only a lab partner, even if you did just make out with them. Then she kisses me, one long, slow lip lock that says more than a whole notebook full of data. What was that? I ask her, taking a step back. I thought Sarah didn't like me. But that's not how you kiss someone you don't care about. Just an experiment, Sarah says, trying to shrug it off. She reaches for me again, and I move away before I have time to think about it. It leaves a weird tension hanging in the air. We're silent, my chest tightening with every awkward breath. Then I break the ice. We should go get lunch before the bell rings. Totally smooth. Right. Sarah shakes her head. I have to go study for a geography test. You're still coming over later? Yeah, sure. Good, she says, picking her backpack up off the floor and hoisting it onto her shoulders. I can't wait for you to meet Geraldo. I go over to Sarah's house Wednesday afternoon, after school. There are pictures on the wall of a woman I'm guessing is Sarah's mom, but I don't see her anywhere, and she isn't in any of the pictures where Sarah's older than 10. Whatever happened to her, I'm guessing she's not around anymore. I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask Sarah about it. Her mom could be dead, Or maybe her dad isn't the first person in the family to get captured by supervillains, and we are not going on any more liberation missions when Sarah says, "Come on, I'll show you my room," and leads me down the hall. Her room looks like a robot threw up all over it. There are piles of nuts and bolts shoved into the corners. Shoe boxes full of stripped wires and plastic knobs poke out from under the bed. Her bedspread has a real map of the night sky on it, and it looks like it's got blobs of glow-in-the-dark paint where all the stars are. There's a bookshelf against one wall overflowing with nonfiction. There are a couple romance novels shoved in here and there, wherever there was enough room to cram them in. One of the covers has a superhero with long wavy hair making out with some cave girl. I think she's a cave girl. She's wearing a leopard skin and holding a club, but I could be jumping to conclusions. Sarah probably considers this stuff research. Next to the bookshelf is a heap of various gadgets. They look like half-finished projects, but knowing what Sarah's end products look like, it's hard to tell. I dump my backpack on the floor and flop down in her computer chair at her desk. She has a clunky black laptop covered in superhero stickers. The biggest one is of the Crimson Flash. Wonderful. So, this is my room. Sarah talks too fast, like she's not used to having people over, and shoves her shoeboxes a little farther under the bed. What do you think? I think your giant Crimson Flash sticker creeps me out, and you might want to cover it up if you want me to hang out with you. It's cool. So, how's your dad? Sarah smiles. He came home last night. He said they just let him go. She chokes up just a tiny bit, and her eyes water a little. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad I trusted you. Uh-huh. Is that why she kissed me like that earlier? Or was she lying back at Vilmore when she said she didn't want me to be her boyfriend? Either way, it sounds like my "you wouldn't want to kill off a fellow scientist" argument must have gotten to Mom. I just hope she didn't tell Taylor that letting Dr. Kink go was my idea. I don't want him adding that to my list of weaknesses. He's in the hospital. Sarah sits down on the edge of her bed. The doctors say he'll be okay. He's got 3 broken ribs and a mashed up finger. And a lot of stitches. He gets to come home this weekend, and then you can meet him. Meet her dad? Was that in her rule book? Just as my lab partner, she adds. He doesn't need to know what kind of experiments we're conducting. He'd be way too thrilled if he thought I had a boyfriend. She rolls her eyes. Speaking of experiments, I get up from the desk and sit next to her on the bed. She tucks her hands under her legs and stares at her knees. I was going to put my arm around her, but now it feels too awkward with her holding so still and not looking at me. She was all over me at lunch today. Why the lack of cooperation now that we're behind closed doors? I decide we're both just nervous. Our lunchtime experiment had a purpose. We were putting on a show to annoy other people. Now that it's just us, it's, well, kind of weird. I lean closer to her, but she jumps up from the bed before I can so much as breathe on her. She picks up a gadget from the pile on the floor. Do you want to see my new inventions? Do any of them explode? Because we should probably go outside for that. She laughs. No, I haven't done any more work in weaponry. These are all accessories. This one, she holds up a metal circle, about the size of a saucer, with seatbelt straps hanging off of it, is a holographic projector. Oh yeah? Can it, say, change my thumbprint? For less than $3,000, which Gordon apparently doesn't have left on his credit card? It was practically maxed out. The most I could have gotten out of him was $500, and it wasn't worth it. Instead, I bought $500 worth of subscriptions to risque supervillain magazines in his name. He should be getting at least one a day for the next 2 years, with such favorites as Hottest Villains, Girls Galore Supervillain Edition, and Naughty Not Nice, to name a few. His subscription to Hottest Villains includes a special Baddest Girls of the Year issue, where they go in-depth with the supervillain girls who committed the hottest crimes. It also includes a 16-month calendar, Swimsuit Edition. It changes what a person looks like, Sarah says, explaining her invention to me. What I mostly had in mind was being able to change outfits with it. Think of all the money it could save on clothes. She buckles it around her waist, tinkers around with a few buttons on the side of the seat belt buckle, and presses the metal circle. I watch as her white t-shirt turns into a black one. Her arms look really tan, and her facial features suddenly look pinched and not like Sarah at all. Then the device makes a little zap noise, like something's shorting out inside it. The image flickers, blinking between Sarah and the holographic projection. "Oops," Sarah says, banging her fist on the side of the device. "I haven't quite worked out all the bugs yet." It's neat, I guess, considering Sarah made it at home, but it doesn't compare to Kat's power. Sarah sighs, seeing I'm not impressed. I know it doesn't seem like much. It can only handle simple changes so far, but I'm hoping to have it up to something more complicated before prom. I'll save money on a dress, and I won't have to go to a salon to get my hair and nails done, but I've got a couple years to work on it. She deactivates it and takes it off, reaching for another invention. "And this one? Actually, maybe you could show me later. I'm here as Damien, not Renegade X. Don't mix business with pleasure," Sarah says. "Got it." She sits down on the bed with me. "You want to watch something?" "Yeah, sure." Anything to make this not feel so awkward. A dog barks outside. "Oh, that's Geraldo. Here." She shoves her TV remote in my hand. "I have to let him in." Sarah runs off, her footsteps echoing down the hall. I inspect her remote, but it looks store-bought. Like it might actually go to her TV and not to, say, a robot in the closet who will bust out and try to kill me as soon as I press power. I wince as my finger pushes down on the button, but the TV flickers to life, and nothing else in the room seems to do anything. I'm safe from Sarah's crazy inventions, for now. The news is on, so I flip the channels until I get to something I recognize. The Crimson Flash and the Safety Kids. They show it in the mornings, and again in the afternoons, in case you miss it the first time. Strangely enough, it doesn't make me think of my dad. It reminds me of Kat. That's the last thing I want right now. I'm about to conduct a serious makeout session with my new girlfriend, lab partner. Something I got involved in so I wouldn't think about my ex. I hold up the remote to change the channel, but I hesitate, waiting to see which episode this is. "Today," the Crimson Flash says, "we're going to visit the zoo." "What do we think about that, Safety Kids?" The camera pans to a dozen elementary school children, ranging from ages 6 to 10, sitting on the floor wearing little red capes. They wave noisemakers and shout, "Yay!" There's no standard set of Safety Kids. It's one of those shows where any kid can be on it if they sign up and are between the right ages. I hear pounding footsteps in the hall, and then a Great Dane leaps on the bed, knocking me down and causing me to throw the remote across the room. It lands in a pile of gears. The dog pins me to the bed and licks my face, similar to what I was hoping to do with Sarah, but not even close. Sarah claps her hands. "Geraldo, down boy! Leave Damien alone!" Geraldo reluctantly gets off of me. He stands on the bed and walks in a circle a couple times before lying down and panting heavily in my ear. I sit up and wipe the dog slobber off my face. "He likes you," Sarah says. Then she spies what's on the TV. The Crimson Flash is standing in front of the zebra pen at the Golden City Zoo, explaining how they use their stripes to avoid predators. "Oh, I love this show!" She bounces down on the bed next to me, grinning, as if I chose this on purpose because I knew it was her favorite. Sarah grabs my hand and leans her head against my shoulder. Geraldo crawls forward a little so his front legs are across mine. He puts his head down and drools. My face is dry now, but I can smell his spit. Gross. I'm not only stuck with him, but it looks like Sarah's not changing the channel anytime soon. These experiments are supposed to be fun, so I decide to make the most of it. "Look at that! Is he wearing an honorary zookeeper badge?" I scoff at the screen. Does he think being a superhero makes him a zookeeper? Sarah lifts her head and scowls. "Damien, he's your dad." "Exactly! That's how I know he has no zoo training whatsoever." Kat would have taken the bait. She would have snickered and made comments about spying the superhero in its natural habitat. "You'll notice, kids, that the superhero wears bright colors to trick its enemies into believing it's poisonous. The bright colors mean, danger, stay away. This, however, is a rare evolutionary flaw, as the bright colors serve only to attract the dreaded supervillain." Sarah looks at me like I'm speaking another language. "That's why he's only an honorary zookeeper." She adjusts herself so she's sitting up more and not leaning on me. Geraldo's breath is hot on my knee. I'm uncomfortable, physically and emotionally, and I'm ready to go home. I wish Kat was here instead of Sarah. I'm not supposed to think that or feel that way, especially since Sarah kissed me like she really meant it earlier and invited me to her house and wants me to meet her dad, but here I am, doing it anyway. I put my arm around Sarah to appease my guilt, even though she can't possibly know what I'm thinking. She smiles at me, a warm smile, like you'd be more likely to give a boyfriend than a lab partner, then turns her attention to the screen, taking the Crimson Flash's zoo trip really seriously. I'm sitting upside down on the couch Thursday evening, my feet up where my head should be, and my head hanging off the edge of the cushions, talking on the phone. I can't believe Pete called my parents, Kat says. Pete's a narc, what do you expect? Amelia stomps through the living room, making fussing noises and straightening out the furniture. She plunks a bowl of chips down on the coffee table, steps back to get a good look, then shuffles them around until they're all at the same level, while still looking casually tossed. God forbid Amelia's friends find out how much effort she's put into making this slumber party perfect. Don't touch those! They're for my party! Amelia says, storming off to check that her superhero day streamers are straight. We get a whole day off from school for it tomorrow, hence the slumber party. Especially since Amelia is the only one of her friends with any superhero heritage. She acts like it's her birthday. Her friends might not know Gordon's really the Crimson Flash, but you can bet they know Amelia's a superhero and expecting to get her H this year. Amelia's told all her friends, and me, that she's already applied to Heroes Worth Academy for fall since her birthday's in October and she just barely missed the cutoff otherwise. She's hoping they'll let her in early. Who's that? Kat asks. I'm, staying with relatives. Kat clears her throat. Listen, Damien, I'm not too clear on everything that happened Monday night, but I know you stopped by. At Pete's? Yeah, for about 5 minutes. Why? I wanted to say I'm sorry. For what? Drooling on my shirt? You can buy me a new one. What? No, I got pretty wasted and made out with one of Pete's roommates. I can tell by the tightness in her voice that she's not looking forward to my response to that. Julie brought me to the party, she goes on when I don't say anything. I didn't know it was at Pete's, just at Villmore, and then I was so upset about things that I didn't care what I did. I wanted to have a good time. So you did. Good for you. But I didn't. I was miserable. Uh-huh. So, I'm sorry that I did that, especially in front of you. It's not something that's going to happen again. I was upset, but I'm going to fix that. And you're telling me this because? My tone is friendly, possibly even cheerful, pretending I don't know exactly why she feels the need to apologize to me. Because, Damien, Look, I thought you'd be mad, but forget it, okay? She's silent, then. Also, at the party, did I say anything weird? Let's see. Other than when you stuffed $100 down my pants and told me to take off everything but my socks? No, can't think of anything. Amelia almost falls over in shock, sloshing punch over the edges of the punch bowl she's carrying. She makes a face at me that's half revulsion and half wide-eyed terror. From my upside-down position, I can totally see up her nostrils. She sets down the punch bowl and runs into the other room, shouting, Mom! He's not going to be here during my party, right? I'm gonna be here. Starting up a rousing game of truth or dare with a bunch of 15-year-old girls. Amelia wants to get to know me better, right? It's perfect! The great thing about siblings, I'm learning, is it turns out you can be as awful to them as you want, and they still have to put up with you. Hard, Damien, Kat says. And where did I get that kind of money? A better question is, did I give you the show of your life and you can't remember it? Or did I take the money and run? But seriously, I didn't say anything, did I? She sounds awfully nervous. No. Gordon comes in from the bedroom, wearing a bathrobe. His hair is wet, and he keeps touching it like he's feeling for something. He seems kind of twitchy. Damien, he says, can I have a word with you? I put my hand over the receiving end of the phone. Do you mind? Did you put... He shuts his eyes and shudders. Did you put worms in my shampoo? I guess the worms all sunk to the bottom of the bottle. That, or he's waited 4 days to wash his hair, since I put them there on Sunday while everyone was at church. I don't know. Pushed anyone off any buildings lately? Saving me in a fire makes up for him trying to kill me, but it doesn't mean he's learned his lesson. Thus, he will get no sympathy or apologies from me. He plants his hands on his hips. Damien, I was only trying to help you. If you just listen to me. I tap the side of the phone impatiently. Can you speed this up? I've got a hot girl on the other line, and you know how those 900 numbers are. The first couple minutes are cheap, and after that, whoo, they rack up the price. He looks like he wants to throttle me. His face turns red, and his forehead knits up. I know you don't like to leave the ground. It was a little scary for me at first, too, but I think you'll find that it's not so bad. Even if you are afraid of heights, you'll have control. It'll be a very different experience for you once you realize you can't fall. I don't acknowledge him. Going back to my conversation with Kat. Yeah, baby. Tell me again what you'll do to me. What? Kat says. Gordon storms off, grumbling about that boy. He's as bad as Amelia. Nothing. The doorbell rings and Amelia shouts, I'll get it! She thunders to the door, glaring at me and motioning for me to get out. Hey, I say into the phone, getting a great idea. Do you want to come up? I stop myself. Kat doesn't know I'm living with a bunch of superheroes. She's going to find out about my ex eventually. I'm going to tell her soon, I promise. But maybe now isn't the right time for it. It might ruin the Truth or Dare session. Plus, I don't want Amelia teasing me that Kat's my girlfriend, because as I've stated 1,000,000 times before, she's not. I mean, it's a nice day for a white wedding. Yeah, what are you doing tomorrow night? Undressing myself at parties for money? Tonight's my trial run. Amelia's eyes are going to burst out of her head. She drags her friend, the one with the green stripe in her hair, as fast as she can through the living room, sleeping bag and pillows in tow. My brother's not going to be at the party. So, Kat says, in other words, absolutely nothing? Well, I wasn't married to the idea. Kat's quiet for a minute. When I don't go on, she says, You'll never guess what I found out. You remember my grandfather? I mean, you don't remember him. He wasn't alive when we were born, but you know the stories. Anyway, I found his ring. I was shopping downtown, and I went into this little antique store with all this really cool villain stuff, and it was there, on display, like they were really proud of it. It didn't even have a price. I sit upright, all the blood draining from my head. She means Helen's shop. That's great, Kat. I don't sound like I mean it. Tell me you want to come with me this weekend to get it back. It's mine, right? It doesn't belong in some antique store. It's not even an antique. I pace the living room. Sure, Kat should have inherited the thing, but I can't help thinking of Helen and her losing her superpower and her one trophy that makes it all worthwhile. They both have a right to it. It's collecting dust there, like some useless trinket, and I need it. You need it, Kat? The ring's supposed to protect the wearer from heartbreak. Maybe she should have the ring. If it'll help her get over me, and I won't find her drunk at any parties, trying to forget what happened between us. Maybe we can just be friends, with neither of us wishing we were together. Maybe I don't want our mission to succeed. And not just because it means stealing from Helen's store. Kat clears her throat. I've been down lately. A new toy might cheer me up. Come on, Damien. Supervillaining. We've got our V's, right? Right. Am I seriously going to pass up the chance to... I was about to say, wreak havoc around town with you. But perhaps that's not the thing to say in a house full of superheroes on the very eve of Superhero Day. I'll be there, with wedding bells on. Damien, what? You know you want to marry me. She makes a choking sound, then starts sputtering. I can't believe you. Catherine Locke. Has a nice ring to it. The doorbell goes off again, and I dip one of Amelia's chips in the punch bowl as she and her friend come barreling down the stairs. I put it in my mouth like it's the most sumptuous food I've ever eaten. Oh my God! They mutter, making disgusted faces. I moan. What's that? Kat says. Nothing, just thinking of you on our wedding night. The girls, there are 4 of them now, roll their eyes at me as they giggle past. I think I'm winning them over. Damien, I want that ring. You'll be there Friday, right? Of course. Wouldn't miss it. Sarah clings to my arm as we walk up the hill toward Lover's Peak Friday afternoon, leaning her head on my shoulder. She rubs her thumb against my palm and sighs. Dad's coming home from the hospital tomorrow, she says. He's taking me out for pizza, once he's feeling better. He said I could invite someone, so I was thinking... She lets go of me, pulling away. She sucks in her breath and stares at the ground and doesn't ask me to come with them. That would be against the rules. Lover's Peak is where all the cool, promiscuous teenagers go to get drunk, feel each other up, and make unwanted babies. The ones with cars park at the cliffside, and the ones without them do it in the woods or hide out in the abandoned cabin. It's the perfect place for a superhero day makeout session with my not girlfriend, dog, and Crimson Flash free. We're wearing party hats, the conical cardboard kind with the elastic string you strap onto your head. I'm dressed all in vertical stripes, and Sarah's going all plaid. Most kids bring beer, but I brought sugar-free sodas for the extra level of ridiculousness that I plan to chug and then scream, "Woo!" at the top of my lungs to annoy all the people supposedly cooler than me. But, alas, there's nobody here to witness it. That's because I had to rearrange our plans. I was planning on bringing her here tonight. Then there'd be more of an audience. But I promised Kat I'd be there for her. You know, Sarah says, this violates rule number 29, no love on a ledge. That was your rule, you know, but I forgive you. She smiles at me. It doesn't violate it, I say, setting the sodas down and adjusting the elastic of my party hat, because we're not going anywhere near that cliff. We aren't going to even look at it or acknowledge its presence, as far as I'm concerned. Sarah raises her eyebrows at me as if to say, "Oh yeah?" She strides over to the edge to spite me and holds her arms out at her sides, taking in a deep breath. She looks like a giant bird about to take flight. Wow, you can see everything from here. I can't watch. I turn away, surveying the cabin instead. People call it a cabin, but it's more of a shack. A dirty, filthy shack that I wouldn't want to take a blacklight to, if you know what I mean. The windows are broken and beer bottles spill out of the open door. Like the building itself has had too much and is puking them out. I peek behind me and flinch. Sarah's still on the ledge. I tell her to come back and she leaps toward me, going, "Yes, sir!" She throws her arms around me, then gets uncomfortable about it and lets go. Maybe because it was obvious she meant it. Like I'm more to her than a lab partner. Or maybe it's because I didn't hug her back. Because being more than a lab partner makes me think of Kat, and then I feel guilty. "Damien," Sarah says, poking at a rock with her foot. "I'm really glad you came with me the other night. Even if we didn't get Dad back right then, I'm glad I trusted you. And I had fun. With you." I swallow and don't look at her. I don't know, I could have done without the crazy zombies. We're silent for a minute, standing around and not touching each other. Finally, Sarah asks, "Damien, is something wrong?" I make an effort to smile. I put my arms around her. Nothing. I can tell she doesn't believe me, but she leans into me, resting her head against my chest, and breathes in deep. She turns her face up to kiss me. Catherine Locke. I break apart from Sarah, pretending I didn't notice her attempt to press her lips against mine. I was joking when I said that, about me and Kat getting married. Totally not serious. It was supposed to torture her, not me. So why can't I stop thinking about it? Kat wasn't joking when she said she was sorry for kissing that guy. We weren't together. She didn't have to apologize, but she did. Actually, I say, taking my party hat off, I think I should go home. I can't concentrate. Sarah's mouth wilts into a frown. She observes all the garbage on the ground, all the cans and bottles and other things. She kicks a used condom toward the ledge. "Will you come with us? To the pizza place? You don't even have to say you're my lab partner, just my friend or my..." She marches over to me and looks me in the eyes. "I've been thinking, maybe it wouldn't be so bad to have a boyfriend." That's not what I bargained for. But so what? I wanted a new relationship, one not so complicated and painful as mine and Kat's. And I got what I wanted. Would it really be so bad going to eat pizza with Sarah and her dad and having her introduce me as her significant other? No, it'd be okay, I guess. It's not like I have anything better to do. Though I'm not crazy about watching more Crimson Flash episodes, her favorite show, with her shushing me every time I start laughing. And Geraldo might like me, but I don't like his giant nose in my crotch or his hot, nasty breath in my face. He wasn't part of the deal when Sarah and I started all this. But seriously, what else am I going to do this weekend? Sit at home and watch Wheel of Fortune with Amelia? Of course I'll go with you, I say, squeezing Sarah's hand. We still on for tonight? She kisses me and grins. I'll bring my costume. I smile back at her. We're going to be unstoppable. The bad guys won't know what hit them. The bad guys, of course, being me and Kat. I told Sarah I had a hot tip about some villains who were going to rob an antique store downtown, and stopping them is a perfect opportunity for us to begin establishing ourselves. For the record, just because I'm going out superheroing tonight, on Superhero Day, it doesn't make me a superhero. I don't even want to go, even though it was my idea. I just happen to know that Helen's store is getting robbed tonight by me and Kat, and maybe I don't want us to succeed. Helen could have hated me for being her husband's supervillain love child, but she didn't. And that ring is all she has left that makes her life worthwhile. And her family, I guess. And it might rightfully be Kat's, but maybe I don't want Kat getting over me. So I'm playing both teams, just for tonight. It's a foolproof plan. Sarah waves goodbye to me and wanders off to the cliff. She kicks the condom the rest of the way over the edge and watches it go down. I hate leaving her there, where she could fall to her doom, but everyone's always assuring me they're not going to fall, like I'm being so ridiculous. I set off down the hill, leaving the sugar-free sodas for the next visitors of Lover's Peak to chug and enjoy. I'm not even 20 feet down when I hear a blood-curdling scream. Crap! My heart leaps into my throat, pounding like I'm the one who fell off the cliff. I turn and run back the way I came. A guy wearing all black, including the ski mask on his face, shoves into me, knocking me to the ground. He keeps running. I get the feeling I should chase after him, but I have to save Sarah first. Damien! Sarah's voice is shrill and sharp with fear. I make it up to the top of the hill. My heart slips out of my throat and weighs heavy in my chest like a stone. My legs and arms tremble as I creep toward the ledge. I see Sarah's fingers clamped to the rocky edge of the cliff for dear life. They're turning white and shaking with the strain. I see her slipping. Sarah, I'm coming! I catch sight of the oh-so-wonderful view from up here and feel dizzy. I sink to my knees and crawl toward her. I see one set of fingers slip all the way, then scramble to grab the edge again. Damien! Her voice is full of tears and panic. She doesn't sound like Sarah at all. I can do this. I can fly. What did Gordon say about having control? I can't fall. My mind buys into it, but my body says no way, almost paralyzed with fear. Memories of falling off the tallest building in Golden City flash through my head. I can hardly breathe when I finally reach out and grab Sarah's hand. Mine are sweating. My pulse races so fast I can barely see. I take Sarah's other hand and pull. We work together, and she's almost safely over the edge when she slips out of my grasp. Sarah tumbles backwards, and I picture her falling really far and not getting up again. I lunge toward her before I have time to think about it. I throw my arms around her and haul her to safety. Sarah clings to me, even after it's over. Her glasses are gone, lost over the edge. I can see her breathing hard and trying not to cry as she takes her party hat off and throws it on the ground. I pet her poofy hair. I hold her close to me, and we cling to each other for a while, shaking and not saying anything. Then my strength and resolve give out, and I lie flat on my back in the dirt, still trying to catch my breath. The ground reeks of stale alcohol. It's almost a welcome scent. It's familiar, and it means we're not dead. Sarah lays her head on my chest and listens to my heart beating. Her hands find places to hold on to me, her fingers hooking into the belt loops on my jeans. If somebody walked up here right now and saw us, two hot and sweaty teenagers clinging to each other on the ground, they might get the wrong idea about what just happened. There was a guy. Sarah says, her voice shaking. He pushed you? No, he tried to grab me. He pulled my arm and said I was coming with him, but then I fell, and when I screamed, he panicked and ran off. I'm too freaked out to think about what that means. I look around, but I don't see anybody. We're safe, I say, but I can't make my heartbeat slow down or my mind stop racing. Chapter 14. In tonight's scheme, I will be playing the parts of both the Midnight Marvel, the supervillain partner to the lovely shapeshifter, and simultaneously that of Renegade X, the super cool superhero, looked up to by his brilliant sidekick, the Cosine Kid. There are several factors that are going to make this possible. I'm wearing plain black spandex, but I've got the holographic projector Sarah used to change her t-shirt and her facial features. She doesn't know I borrowed it. All I have to do is press the button, and a big silver X appears on my chest, and a mask appears on my face. If I press it again, the X changes into two M's. I didn't have time to come up with anything other than the Midnight Marvel, and my mask changes into my insect goggles. I've also got a utility belt that Sarah gave me to go with my costume. It hides the holographic projector belt quite nicely, and I can also use it to hold my gun or stash my goggles in one of my pouches. This is going to work. Even though Helen's shop is small, it's got a lot of stuff piled up in it, and it'll be really dark in there. This would be so much easier if I had Kat's power, but really all I have to do is go, "What's that over there? I'm going to check it out. You stay here." And run behind the junk, press the button, and voila, I'm a new man. Kat wants to be there at midnight. I told Sarah to meet me at the same time, in front of the bookstore down the street, so we can get organized before alerting the bad guys to our presence. It's cold out tonight, but I'm sweating as Kat and I make our way to the store. We keep to the shadows, avoiding street lights and being really sneaky-like. I've already got the projector on, making me look like the Midnight Marvel. Kat peeks out from behind the building to see if it's safe, and I hum, "Here comes the bride." "Damien," she whispers, her cheeks going red, "will you quit that?" I'd look hot in a tux, don't you think? "Listen, about the other night." She touches her fingertips together and looks away. "Yes?" In my mind, this is where she leaps into my arms and screams, "Marry me, please!" And I kiss her and pull out 2 fake IDs and a couple plane tickets to Vegas. In reality, I feel really embarrassed for fantasizing that, and my face gets hot. Not only have I self-proclaimed Kat off limits, but I'm involved in a series of very important experiments with Sarah. I fidget with my utility belt and lick my lips, my mouth suddenly dry. "Let's not talk about it." "That's what I was going to say." She breathes a sigh of relief. "So you can quit teasing me. I wasn't myself." "We're too young anyway," I mutter. We're quiet until we get to the store. Then Kat stands in front of the door and grins at me. "Tonight," she says, "we're real supervillains. Just call me Midnight." The projector device around my waist makes a zap noise. I glance down just in time to see the M's on my chest blink back into existence. "Whoa!" Kat blinks and stares at my face. "Did your goggles just flicker?" "That's crazy!" Okay, so Sarah's invention isn't perfect, but it's all I've got. "You're imagining things, Kat. It was the street light that flickered." Kat shrugs and moves to pick the lock. With her finger. She doesn't need tools. I thought about stealing a copy of the key in case we had to do any damage to break in, and because Kat shapeshifting her finger into a lockpick always creeps me out. But I didn't want her to get suspicious. She opens the door, and I put a hand out to stop her. I point to the doorway. "Hidden lasers," I whisper. "I did a little research earlier today. It was hard work, but I scoped out the security system for you." Kat laughs. "Sweet talk to the owner, I bet." I pretend to step over the invisible lasers, and Kat follows me in. "I'm going to find a way to turn them off, so we can make a quick getaway. You go on ahead and be careful. There's so much junk in here, it's an avalanche waiting to happen." Kat gives me a thumbs up and moves on inside the store. As soon as her back is turned, I slip outside and hit the holographic projector button around my middle. It hums a little as my torso fades back to black, then to displaying a big silver X. I can't see my face to know for sure, but I tested it enough times in the mirror to know that my goggles have changed into a mask. I take off down the street to meet Sarah at the bookstore. You're a little late, she says. It's almost midnight. I had trouble sneaking out. I'm here now. I did have to sneak out to do this. Gordon doesn't want me out past 10 on the weekend, and even though he approves of superheroing in general, I get the feeling this mission doesn't fall into any acceptable categories. Sarah and I rush over to the shop. Looks like they're already here, I whisper, pointing to the open door. Sarah nods. Get your gun out, she says, in case we have to immobilize the bad guys. Right. I haven't learned how to program it, and Sarah hasn't fiddled with it since she wanted me to shoot to kill. Don't think I'll be using it on Kat, thanks. I slip it out of my belt anyway. Good thinking, cosign. And don't forget to call me Renegade, because it's the coolest name ever, so the bad guys don't find out who we are. We go in. I hold out my gun, with no intentions of firing. I don't see Kat anywhere. Light from the street filters in through the windows, leaving creepy, glowing streaks on the floor. I sneak down one of the aisles with Sarah a few feet behind me, my skin crawling. The projector around my waist makes a crackling noise, and when I glance down at my chest, there's no X, just black. Crap! I smack the side of the projector device, and my X flickers back to life. It must have only been out for a second, or Sarah would have noticed. There's a noise to the left. Stop right there! Sarah shouts. I point my weapon at the sound, and then a whole shelf of superhero knickknacks topples down on us. We roll out of the way. I'll get him, I say, and leap over the pile of crap before Sarah can argue with me. I skid around the corner and press the button to change clothes. I pause long enough to stuff my gun into the pouch. It doesn't quite fit, but I manage to close the flap over it anyway, with part of it sticking out one side. I take off down the aisle looking for Kat. Psst, Damien. She steps out from behind Dr. Doomsworth's recliner. I told you, call me Midnight, I whisper. I don't want these superhero freaks knowing my name. Hey, did you see that guy? Kat says, leading me toward the end of the aisle. There's something familiar about him. I can't place it. I just feel like I know him. Come on, shapeshifter. Since when do we know any superheroes? Yeah, I guess you're right. We creep through all the junk, keeping an eye out for the good guys as we turn around the corner of the L shape. I'm wondering how I'm going to get away again when Sarah jumps out in front of us and shouts, "Don't move another muscle!" I throw down some flash powder while Kat heaves the masked marauder's favorite beanbag chair on top of Sarah. We take off in opposite directions. I speed around the corner, pressing the hologram button. I loop around the entire store, leaping over the avalanche again, and catch up with my sidekick. They got away from me, I pant, helping push the beanbag chair off of Sarah. X, Sarah says, crawling out from underneath it. Where's your firepower? It's Renegade, don't call me X. I pat my gun pouch. It's right here. Sarah narrows her eyes at me. That's a stupid place for it. What if you need to shoot them? Good point. I might want to horribly maim somebody for breaking and entering. Nothing wrong with that. I speed up ahead of Sarah, trying to catch up with Kat. I make it around the L shape of the store, turning the corner to find the ring still in its display case. There's no one else here. Then there's a crash behind me. I turn around, and that's when Kat jumps. She knocks me to the floor. I wriggle away from her and scramble to my feet, pulling out my weapon. I pointed at her, and we're both very still, not moving. Kat fakes to the left. Maybe it's because my weapon looks homemade, or maybe she can tell by my body language that I'm not going to fire on her. She moves to the right, sidestepping the gun. I think she's going for the ring, even though the security's still on. But then I hear the projector make another zap noise, and Kat gasps. She stares at me, her eyes wide, and I don't have to look down to guess that she's seen through my disguise. Oh my God, Kat whispers. Dame... I panic. I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop the gun and pull Kat against me, my mouth on hers. I meant for it to be quick, to stop her from saying my name. But then my tongue is in her mouth and everything feels warm and right. And I forget where I am. And it doesn't hurt that she kisses back. And then Sarah says, Renegade? I reach out and slap my hand against the glass case. The alarms blare and I see Kat's face twisted in confusion. Then she's gone, and the camera flashes, and I'm seeing spots. The panel on the side of the ring display opens up and sprays out villain-deterring mist. Sarah picks up the gun. Her nostrils flare in and out. What was that? I had to stop her. I yawn and turn away from her, waving my arm as I talk, trying too hard to look casual. It worked, didn't it? Sarah crinkles her eyebrows. She shoves the gun at me. Handle first. Here, I guess you dropped this. I had to do something. I panicked. It's true. I suppose that's how you'd stop any old supervillain, right? Sarah walks ahead of me, her footsteps heavy. Never has there been a sidekick so unhappy to have stopped the bad guys, especially on Superhero Day. I catch up to her right outside the store. The fresh air helps clear my head. I might. You never know with me. Sarah stomps her foot and glares. You were the one who said no messing around with anybody else. This doesn't count. It wasn't messing around, it was work. My voice is quiet. I feel like an idiot. I try to take Sarah's hand. I don't know why, to make myself feel better, I guess. And she jerks it away before I can touch it. You're not jealous, are you? I ask her. You made a rule. You have to honor that. Yeah, and what about you? You said this couldn't be more than a professional relationship, but that's not how you've been acting. Look, I panicked, okay? I had to distract her. It was nothing. I almost sound like I believe it. Nothing, Sarah repeats. Didn't look like nothing. But she slips her hand into mine as she says it. Guilt sinks into my chest until I feel like I'm on fire. I'm the worst not boyfriend and supposed superhero on the face of the planet. And to top it off, I made a pretty lousy supervillain. I make it all the way until the next morning before I take my phone out, start to call Kat, then flip the phone closed instead. I sigh. On the one hand, it hurts to be with her. On the other, judging from how much I've been thinking about us since last night, it hurts a lot more to be without her. I flop down on the couch. Alex is sitting on the floor, 2 inches from the TV, giggling at Saturday morning cartoons. I try to pay attention to them. It doesn't work. I take my phone out and stare at it. I should call Kat. She's probably up, right? I mean, I'm up, Alex is up, Amelia is up. It's perfectly normal to be awake at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, even when you stayed up late the night before. Kat's probably sitting by her phone, waiting for me to call. Maybe she couldn't sleep because she was thinking about me, like I was about her. She probably hasn't called because she thinks I'll be asleep. I should call her. Or she's pissed at me and never wants to talk to me again. If she never wanted to talk to me again, she shouldn't have kissed back. It doesn't matter because I can't call Kat. Because Sarah and I have an agreement, and calling Kat means the kiss wasn't nothing. I sigh again and put the phone away. Amelia plops Jessica down in front of the TV and tells Alex not to sit so close. He doesn't listen to her, and Jessica immediately gets up and runs over to me. Boy! She says, poking me in the cheek, her whole face lighting up. Aha! I gear up my phone so that it's on Kat's number. All Jessica has to do is press call. Here, look at this. I point to the call button. Isn't this pretty? Yes! Jessica's outstretched finger moves slowly toward the phone. Oh, oops, Kat, I didn't mean to call you. A 2-year-old stole my phone and pushed some buttons. Crazy, huh? But since I've got you on the line, how about that kiss last night? Jessica's almost there. I'm about to push the phone a little closer to help her out when Amelia yanks it from my hand. Why don't you call her and stop moping? Give me that! I make a grab for it, but Amelia anticipates my move and steps out of reach. Amelia smirks at me and waves the phone around. Is it your girlfriend? I do not mope. And no, it's not, so give it back. I scramble to my feet. Amelia sings, Damien's in love, and makes a run for the kitchen. I chase after her. This must be exciting stuff because Alex actually tears himself away from the TV to watch. I corner Amelia next to the fridge. She's wider than me, but I think I can take her. She pushes the call button on the phone. I lunge for it, but she elbows me in the collarbone, which actually really hurts. A lot. It's ringing, she says. Oh, God. I rub my forehead with the palms of my hands. They're sweating. Amelia, give me that right now. I tackle her and tickle her ribs. It nearly works. Amelia's almost cackling too hard to answer the phone. Hello? She says, in between bursts of laughter. Will you please talk to my stupid brother so we'll stop pining over you? I'm not pining! I reach for the phone. Amelia twists away again. He's so in love. Ah! I scream at her. I tear the phone out of her hands just as the front door opens. Gordon and Helen storm into the kitchen. Helen's in tears, and if Gordon didn't look so angry, I'd ask them who died. Everybody go to your rooms, now! Gordon shouts. He shakes his head and points at me. He's so mad he can hardly talk. And you! He can't even finish his sentence. He takes a deep breath and closes his eyes. In the living room. I flip my phone shut without saying goodbye. I feel sick. I'd give anything for Mom and her laser eyes right now. At least she'd just shoot me and get it over with. Helen can't look at me. She's crying her eyes out, and every time she glances over at me, she cries harder. She didn't give me any crap for being half supervillain or for being her husband's illegitimate kid. She let me live here and has been nothing but nice. What does she get in return? Me breaking into her shop to steal an irreplaceable trophy of her glory days. Her only reminder of why her sacrificing her superpower was for the greater good. It doesn't matter if that's not quite how it went down. I still hurt her. Guess that's what she gets for trusting a supervillain. I sink deeper into the couch. Gordon's holding a security picture of me with my hand on the display case in Helen's shop. Is this you? He can't talk normally anymore, only shout. I nod. So this is you, dressed like a supervillain. I can see why he would jump to that conclusion, even if you can't see the whole costume. I'm not about to point out that it was in fact my superhero outfit. Gordon crumples up the picture and hurls it to the floor. What were you thinking? Is this some weird kind of payback for me going out of my way to teach you to fly? Because you're not just hurting me with this. He doesn't need to say Helen's suffering the worst and that she doesn't deserve it. It's already painfully obvious. I wish she'd leave the room. Were you trying to prove something? Gordon goes on. You hate it here this badly, is that it? I open my mouth. A little croak comes out, but no words. Damn it, Damien! Gordon seethes and paces in front of me. I thought you learned something after the fire. I thought I could respect you. And on some level, we could see eye to eye. It's a good thing a superhero came and stopped you. By saying superhero like that, he means I'm not one and never will be. That's exactly what I wanted. But it still makes me feel like crap to hear him say it. Good thing, I mutter, avoiding eye contact. I don't even want to think about what would have happened otherwise. I can't believe how far you'd go to spite us. I trusted you. No wonder your mother was so quick to agree to this arrangement. Gordon, Helen warns. She shakes her head, blotting her face with a wad of tissues. Great, now she's defending me. I know it's meant to help, but it only makes me feel worse. He ignores her. She probably had more of you than she could stand. Gordon, that's enough. Helen snaps. I swallow back a lump in my throat and stare very hard at my knees. It's hard to see their shape through my jeans, so I think about the wrinkles in the fabric instead. He's my son. I'm handling this. Damien, go to your... Gordon realizes I don't have a room. When he can't think of where to put me, I expect him to tell me to pack my bags instead. Well, bag, in the singular. But he doesn't. He holds out his hand. Phone. I give it to him. I had to turn it off because Kat tried to call me back after I hung up on her. His forehead wrinkles as he tries to think of anything else that matters to me. No dinner tonight, and no friends over. He pauses, and I know he's wondering if I have any friends. And I don't think I have to tell you that you're not leaving this house. He looks like he wants to say more, but he storms off into his bedroom and slams the door instead. Helen comes and sits next to me on the couch. She puts a hand on my shoulder. He didn't mean that, she says, her voice still thick from crying. He'll calm down. I don't deserve her sympathy. I turn away, curling up against the far edge of the couch, and bury my face into the cushions. Chapter 15. I look like some sort of ragamuffin. I believe that's the technical term. I'm sitting on a park bench Sunday afternoon with Kat, devouring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich she brought me. It was easy to sneak out of the house while everyone was at church this morning. Gordon wanted to drag me along as punishment, but Helen convinced him to leave me alone. So I betrayed her trust yet again and ran off. But at least I know it's the last time, because I'm never going back. I've got everything I own, including Mr. Wiggles's remains, in my backpack. At least it's everything I had with me at the Tynes house, except for my phone, which is still in Gordon's clutches. I'm shivering because I lost my coat. At least I've got my gloves. I'm wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday because I was too depressed to change them. And now I've got a big blob of grape jelly sliding down the front of my shirt. I don't know where I'm going. I guess I can always make Mom let me come home early. Though if she finds out I ran away, she might send me straight back to Gordon. I wish I could stay at Kat's house. Her mom likes me, and they have a guest room, and it's even on the first floor. Right now it sounds like paradise. So your dad's the Crimson Flash? Kat swings her leg back and forth against the park bench. Your mom and him? I know, it's totally crazy. I've known for almost 3 weeks now, and I hardly believe it. So, that makes you part superhero? Yeah. I don't think Kat fully realizes what that means for me, that I have an X instead of a V. She hasn't said anything about it, and I haven't gotten to that part of the explanation yet. And my stepmom owns the antique shop, and that ring really meant a lot to her. Oh, that stupid thing? Kat laughs and waves her hand. Damien, don't worry about it. She's taking all of this too well. I'm starting to suspect this is some kind of cat robot I've been talking to the whole time, while the real Kat is locked up somewhere, wondering why no one notices she's missing. Kat, I just told you that my stepmom is the one who defeated your famous grandfather, and I said I'd help you steal his ring from her, then dressed up like a superhero and stopped you. If it meant that much to you, you should have said so. She stares off into space, all dreamy-like, and sighs. I get the feeling she's not listening to a word I'm saying. I raise my eyebrows at her, then wave my hand in front of her face. You said you wanted that ring. You said you needed it. That it was yours and they were letting it collect dust. So maybe I changed my mind. She shrugs. Maybe I don't need it anymore. A ring that protects from heartbreak, and Kat doesn't need it anymore. Because I kissed her when I was supposed to be with Sarah. Listen, there's something else I have to tell you. I stuff the last of my sandwich into my mouth and tug a little on my right glove, cringing already. So, Kat says, I hear you're in love with me. I choke on the sandwich and cough, spitting out the rest of it. I cough some more until my throat is rough and I'm sure my face is red. Be kinda hard to live out your dream of marrying me if I wasn't. You planning on wearing white or just a dirty cream color? She punches me in the shoulder. I'll be wearing black at your funeral if you don't shut up. I tickle her. Tickling is my new weapon of choice. And she screams and laughs and tries to fight back. And then somehow I have her pinned to the bench. I'm leaning over her. Our faces really close. She stops laughing and slips her arms around me. I kiss her and wonder why there's never a bed and a locked door around when you need them. Damien, she says. Yeah? You're getting jelly on me. I sit up. We share the same jelly stain across our fronts, like one of those ink blot pictures. I fidget with my gloves, tugging off the right one, then pulling it back on again. Tug, pull, don't look at Kat. My heart is pounding. I stare at the soggy bits of sandwich I spit on the ground. Finally, I work up enough courage to speak. Kat, I have to show you something. Ooh, Damien, not in public. I look over at her, but I don't smile. The grin drains from her face. You know how I got my V last month? Her cheeks are pale. She nods. Well, I didn't. She wrinkles her nose. What do you mean? But I saw... She bites her lip, probably realizing she never did see it. She just assumed. I told you. My dad's the Crimson Flash. So besides making you a lifetime member of the Safety Kids, that means... I slip off my glove and show her my bare right thumb. Even without an ink pad, you can make out the clear shape of an X. It's what happens to people like me. People who are half villain and half hero. Kat pulls away from me, but I think it's more out of shock than revulsion. Whoa, I didn't think that was possible. I have a chance to fix it. There have been cases with other kids who get X's, and eventually they changed into an H or a V. It's just going to take me a little longer to get my V, that's all. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still 100% supervillain. She rubs her finger across my thumb. Oh my God, Damien. It's okay, I'm getting used to it. Don't cry. I'm not. There are tears in her eyes and she's shaking. But now I see it's because she's laughing. My eyebrows come together in a scowl. It's not funny. I know, it's horrible. She can hardly breathe. She's laughing that hard. But of all the people it could happen to, what's your superpower? Can you... She interrupts herself with a burst of laughter. Can you fly? Just like your dad? The blood drains from my face. I put my hands on my knees and stare straight ahead. Oh my God, you can! I was totally kidding! I didn't think it was true. She falls against me, shuddering with guffaws and chuckles and whatnot. Then she finally gets a hold of herself, takes a deep breath, and wipes her eyes. Damien, she says, that's actually the worst news I've ever heard. I can tell. But she sounds serious when she says, so, does this mean you're going to have to wait to go to Vilmore? How long? I slide my thumb along the slats in the bench. I don't know. I don't think it disqualifies me, and I'm going to talk to Taylor, who mistakenly thinks I'm not Vilmore material, even without knowing about my less-than-sparkling parentage. We were supposed to go at the same time, become real villains together. Kat rests her chin on her hands. Damien, we've got to do something big. We've got to be villains for real. So Taylor lets you in. We both have to go to Vilmore. It'll seem like we're so far away if we don't. Aren't you listening to me? I'm still going. The dean is marrying my mom. He'll let me in. I just have to talk to him. What if you don't get in? What if your ex decides to become an H? I can't. With a hero? My dad would disown me, Damien. It doesn't work like that. It's not just going to become an H. I can do stuff to influence it. It's based on my actions, not on who my parents are. What am I supposed to tell people next year when you visit me at school? This is my boyfriend, Damien. He's a superhero. Don't beat him up, okay? Kat, aren't you listening? I'm still going to Vilmore. I said I'd be there, and you don't have to tell them anything, because I'm not a superhero. I don't care what anybody thinks. I stand up, throwing my arms up and letting them fall back to my sides with a thwack. I'm a supervillain. I was raised by a supervillain. I think like a supervillain, and I'm never signing any damn league treaty. I do things my way. You certainly acted like a superhero the other night. Yeah, well, I had to, didn't I? You have a sidekick. I don't! It doesn't matter because I'm through with it. I tried living with my dad and his superhero family, and it didn't work out. I find out I'm half hero for my birthday, and suddenly everyone expects me to be some kind of saint. Maybe they should judge who I am based on my actions and not on some stupid genetic nonsense. Damien, you can fly. Even if you get your V, you might as well wear a big sign that says, I heart superheroes the rest of your life. Who, me? I can barely get up the stairs. I'm never leaving the ground if I can help it. Well, what if you are a hero? I'm a villain. How are we supposed to be together? I kneel in front of her, my knees getting wet in the grass. I take her hands. Kat, listen to me. Tell the kids at school to just try and mess with me. I'll show them what a real villain can do. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks, or if you've got your V and I've gotten my X. And it doesn't matter what my ex turns into as far as we're concerned. Because I've realized something. No matter how crazy things have been between us, no matter how much we've hurt each other, I still care about you. More than anything. And that's not going to change. I think you feel the same way, and it doesn't matter what our thumbs say, Kat, because Cold water splashes on my head. It trickles down my back and soaks through my shirt. Then a giant dog licks my face. Sarah is standing behind me with an empty water bottle. She says, Come on, Geraldo. I thought I saw someone I knew, but I guess I was wrong. She tugs on his leash, turning and walking very quickly away from me. I hurry after her, with one last glance at Kat on the park bench. Sarah, wait! I can explain! She shoves me away with both hands. It didn't mean anything. You're such a jerk. I can't believe I ever wanted to be your sidekick. I guess it's a good thing I'm not, or else I'd resign. Sarah, I didn't mean if you liked her more than me, you should have said so. My gaze falls guiltily to the ground. You don't want to be a superhero? Good, because you're not, Damian Locke. You're right. People should be judged on their actions, not their genes, because I can think of a ton of people more heroic than you. And they don't have a famous superhero for a father, and they can't even fly. And if all it takes to be a supervillain is lying and cheating to get what you want, no matter who it hurts, then I guess you're set. For life. Sarah, it's not like that. I move toward her, but Geraldo growls at me. Good boy, Sarah says, rubbing his ears. And as for you, Damien, she says my name like it's a swear word. I don't ever want to talk to you again. She storms off, and I actually stand there and watch her go. She's probably too mad to listen to me right now anyway. Not that she doesn't have a right to be mad after how awful I've been. I'll call her later and sort things out. I mean about the whole romance thing. I don't know what I'm going to tell her about being my sidekick. Kat comes up and dumps my backpack in my arms. I've got to get back home, she says, for dinner. I'd invite you, but my grandparents are coming over. Mom always freaks out when they're around, so... No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll talk later and figure out how to get you into Vilmore. She moves to hug me, then realizes I'm sopping wet. She hesitates and does it anyway. We embrace, holding on to each other too tightly, like it might never happen again. I whisper in her ear, let's dress like pirates for the wedding. Oh, but you were right. You'd look hot in a tux. Swords, Kat. I'm talking about getting to have swords. And a parrot who's also a sea captain to read us our vows. Let's tell everyone it's a Renaissance theme and to dress accordingly. Better yet, we tell my side it's a 50s diner theme, yours that it's World War I, not II. Anyone who shows up without a costume gets the Renaissance garb we'll have on hand. Sounds like a plan, Kat says. We high-five each other. I wave at her as she walks off to her warm house and warm food and cranky relatives. I don't look forward to deciding what to do with myself next. And then I don't have to, because a dog licks my hand. I look down to see Geraldo dragging his leash, with Sarah nowhere in sight. It's dark by the time Geraldo and I get to Mom's. My arms are sore from dragging a giant dog through the city. Every time he sees something interesting, he pulls me along after him. I don't know how Sarah does it. I also forgot my glove in the park. I think my right hand has leash burns. Mom! I call as I get through the door. I set my stuff on the couch, take off my other glove, and let Geraldo loose. He takes off into the kitchen. I hear a deep bark, and then Mom screams. She pokes her head into the room and seems relieved to see it's me. She's on the phone. She holds her hand over it and says, Damien, what are you doing here? And more importantly, what is this beast? I'm dog sitting. She holds up a finger, signaling me to hold on. You've got her this time? Oh, excellent. No, everything's ready on this side. Don't hold back. Get results, honey buns. Whatever it takes, keep me informed. She pauses, her eyes darting toward me. He's here, actually. I'll make sure, don't worry. She hangs up. Taylor says hello. I'm sure he does. Things didn't work out at Gordon's. She flinches when I say his name. Geraldo jumps on her, knocking her back a step, and she pushes him away. Damian, please keep that thing under control. I've got important work going on. For honey buns? She fixes her hair. As a matter of fact, yes. I have a surprise for you. You know, Taylor and I have been doing some work together. Is that what you call it? Mom clasps her hands together and beams at me. Taylor's actually quite brilliant. He's worthy of more than being dean of some school. Of Vilmore. I pet Geraldo, and his tail thumps really hard against my leg. What's wrong with that? Mom tilts her head, her expression pitying. You used to be so ambitious before you got that X. She puts her hands on my face, pinching my cheeks. Then she pats me on the head. I shouldn't have let that man take you. My father, you mean? She sighs. People like me and Taylor, we've got untapped potential, and we're not getting any younger. He's the dean of Vilmore. Some people would kill to get there. Stop looking at me like that, Mom. You've got your whole life ahead of you. You can't understand. All right, Vilmore is a prestigious school, churning out many fine young supervillains who will go on to do famous things. But that's just it. How many of those kids dream of sitting in an office at that same school? It doesn't make the history books. And what's so horrible about your life? I slump down in the armchair and pick at a string hanging off it. Well, she says very matter-of-factly, I did have you at a rather young age. So, you were 22. It's hard to build a name for yourself while having to put so much time into someone else. I think I did a pretty good job, considering, and I love you very much, you know. I wouldn't change a thing. But you're growing up now, and it's so convenient that you have someone else to pawn me off on. If I'm going to give my career an extra boost, now's the time. Mom sits on the edge of the couch. She smells like chemicals from her lab. Sulfur and ammonia. It's good to be home, even if it feels really empty after being at the Tynes house. Mom's whole face lights up, and I have to admit I haven't seen her this happy in years. By this time tomorrow, we'll... Damien, where's your coat? It's cold out. Lost it. Guess I'm not as ready to take care of myself as you think. Geraldo suddenly leaps on me, his front paws punching me in the stomach. He slurps my face. Get down, boy! I add lamely, pointing at the floor. He doesn't listen. Anyway, Mom goes on, rubbing her hands together. Tonight, everything changes. Tomorrow we'll be king and queen of this city. Who? Us? It's hard to listen with Geraldo's hot breath on my face. I fend him off with both hands as he licks my hair. I make the mistake of turning my head right as he barks, and then my ear is ringing. Taylor and you'll be my little prince. Isn't that wonderful? You're taking over the city? Tonight? Did she call me little? I'm 16 and taller than her. I've been bursting to tell you, but you've had so many changes in your life lately. I didn't have the heart to get your hopes up, in case it didn't happen. She slaps a hand to her chest and breathes out. It's such a relief to share this with you. It's so exciting, I can hardly stand it. Think of it, Damien. We can do whatever we want, have whatever we want. You name it. Oh, so if this works out, you and Taylor won't get married? Because that's what I want. Mom's selective hearing must be acting up again, because she acts like I didn't say anything. By whatever I want, she must have meant the opposite. That Sarah Kink girl's the key to making all our dreams come true. You were right, Damien. The hypno device wasn't Dr. Kink's invention after all. It turns out it was his daughter's. Now that we've got her in custody, our plans are going to go very smoothly. Custody. Mom and Taylor nabbed Sarah and have her in custody. Just like they had her dad. My insides go cold, and it takes effort to keep from shaking. But if I have any hope of saving Sarah, it all depends on Mom and Taylor not finding out I care about her. I force myself out of the chair and follow Mom as she dances into the kitchen. She's so happy about whatever's happening tonight. Something that involves kidnapping my sidekick. Your plans? You picked a good time to come back. I have to give you something. I tried to call you, but you had your phone off. The counters are covered in chemistry beakers, and there are stacks of filthy pots and pans piled on the stove. Papers with what look like recipes in math are tacked to the cupboards. Intermingled between all the science lab equipment are open boxes of Chinese food with dry noodles and chopsticks hanging out of them. There are stains on the floor, too, especially near the stove and the sink, where Mom must have spilled her concoctions and never cleaned them up. Mom, did something happen to your lab? What? Oh, no, sweetie. With you gone, I got a little carried away. Lazy is the word I think you're looking for. Well, that, too. Ah, here it is. She grabs a small vial full of green liquid off the microwave. She holds it out to me. I want you to take this as soon as possible. This will protect you. I stare at it. From what? The hypnotoxin I invented. Taylor and I are about to pump it through the sewer system. On its own, it doesn't do much, but when combined with Miss Kink's device, anyone who breathes it in will be susceptible to mind control. Oh, I shouldn't say anyone. Anyone who's not a supervillain. Once we've spread my toxin, all we have to do is speak into the device and set the trigger word. We're going to broadcast it across the city. Once the trigger word is set, anyone affected by the toxin who hears the words spoken through this device will be helpless, forced to obey our command. But it's the superheroes I'm really interested in. not the nobodies. By morning, if all goes well, every superhero in Golden City will be like brainless robots, ready to do our bidding. I think the term is zombie. Don't be silly, sweetie. Zombies are undead and they eat brains. It's very different. We're not monsters. Oh, she laughs. And you think I might be affected by your work? She shrugs and tries to smile. Well, you are half, superhero. Anyone who's not a supervillain who breathes in the toxin I made will become susceptible when they hear my voice through the hypno device. I don't know how the toxin will affect you, but I don't want to take any chances. So you take this antidote, okay? Promise me. Yeah, okay, whatever. I put the vial to my mouth like I'm going to drink it, but when Mom turns her back to mess with something by the stove, I stick it in my pocket. Yuck! You didn't tell me how bad it was going to taste. Mom smiles. We all have to make sacrifices, Damien. An unpleasant taste is a small price to pay for staying safe tonight. It's going to be worth it. With all the superheroes in the city under our command, rising to the top will be a cinch. She snaps her fingers. The other supervillains will have to acknowledge our power. How's that for going down in the history books? First Golden City, then who knows? With that much superpower under our command, we could expand. And someday you'll inherit everything. How's Kat going to like being an empress? She winks at me. Okay, that's a lot to offer a girl, I have to admit. Kat likes me how I am. She doesn't need a whole city. So you are back with her? Mom raises her eyebrows. She's totally prying, but I don't care. Yeah, I am. It feels good. After all the ups and downs over the past year, I finally know where I stand with her. And I can't say it's a bad place to be. More the opposite. We're getting married. You should come. Wear a poodle skirt and roller skates. Oh, I'm glad, Mom says, and I don't know if she heard me or if she thought I was joking about her wearing the roller skates. And once we've taken over the city, you'll never have to see that man again. You can come home for good. Come home? Never have to get yelled at by Gordon again? I'd have my own room? I could have my own palace? A one-story palace, of course, but it'd still be huge. Just let Gordon try and push me off a building again. No more trying to turn me into a superhero or letting villains burn in a fire just because they're going to grow up to have V's. I picture Gordon and the rest of the fam as mindless zombie slaves, glassy-eyed, bowing to my every whim, making me sandwiches and telling me how much they love supervillains, especially me. Maybe I'll even let them live in my house to keep them safe from Mom. She might get carried away and do something really awful to Gordon. Something really awful, like turn him into my slave, with no free will at all. Okay, that's pretty bad. My lungs feel heavy, and guilt prickles up and down my spine. Gordon rescued me from a fire, after I stupidly ran in there when he told me not to. He wasn't willing to go in for just anybody like I thought he'd be. He almost died, specifically saving me. His intentions of turning me into a superhero, just like him, were totally misguided, but he was trying to help. It's not his fault he's an idiot. And this new world of Mom's, with her and honey buns at the top, yeah, parts of it sound cool, like me and Kat having our own palace, but the rest of it sounds pretty awful. Who are we going to make fun of if there are no heroes around? And I don't know, before Gordon freaked out because he thought I robbed Helen's store, things were starting to go okay. I never had a problem being an only child before, but now that it turns out I'm not, it's not so bad. I kind of like my siblings. Even, dare I say it, Amelia, without whom Kat would not know that I might be in love with her and want to have her babies, or something like that. Another flaw with Mom's plan, you'd have to tell the zombies to feed and wash themselves too, and breed. Otherwise, this little empire isn't going to last, or expand. There's an untapped industry. Zombie slave superhero porn. I catch myself making a disgusted face, then quickly replace it with a grin. Gee, Mom, it all sounds so wonderful. I can't wait. She hugs me. I know. I'm so excited. Are they going to torture that girl, Sarah or something, to get her to fix the hypno device? Not if I have anything to say about it, they're not. If they have to, I told Taylor not to hold back. Crap. Can I go help, please? Hopefully I'll get there in time before they do something awful to my sidekick. I don't know how Sarah will hold up under torture, but I don't want to find out. I have to get to her before she's scarred for life and before she fixes that device. I don't know, Damien. I want you here where I can keep an eye on you. Things might get a little crazy tonight. I don't want you wandering around the city. Without a coat, I might add. She shakes her head in exasperation. Besides, I haven't gotten to see you in a while. I missed you, you know. Mom, I hate to break it to you, but Taylor's not as great as you think. I know he's not sure if I'm Fillmore material, and I want a chance to prove him wrong. What could be a better chance than this? Let me go over there, and I'll make that Sarah girl talk. I have ways. And I'm 16. You don't have to worry about me going out by myself. I can handle it. Well, when you put it that way, I suppose you can go over to Taylor's. You're right, it would be a good opportunity for you to show off your villain potential. Who knows? Maybe you two will bond tonight, and you'll be a little more accepting of him joining our family. And you did take the antidote. That should keep you safe tonight. She looks around the kitchen and purses her lips, like she hadn't noticed how messy it was until now. Pick up something on your way home, will ya? Maybe Indian food? I make a face. No way. She hands me $20. Sushi. Mom. Fine, get whatever you want, dear. And Damien, change your shirt before you go. You look like a ragamuffin. You're going to be Prince of Golden City tomorrow. You need to think about the impression you're making. Chapter 16. I'm sorry, Damien. Taylor splays his hands in a you're out of luck gesture when I get to his house and ask to help them torture Sarah. You're too late. I try not to look like my heart just stopped beating. Too late? Taylor shakes his head. Besides, your mother shouldn't have let you come here. You don't need to get involved. He gives me a stern look, like he doesn't think I can cut it and should go back home. He picks his way past piles of boxes in the living room, and I follow him. Taylor inherited this house when his mother died last year. We helped him move here from his old apartment. It smells like an old lady, like mothballs and antiseptic spray and vanilla candles. And he still hasn't dealt with all her stuff, since he spends most of his time either at Fillmore or at my house. You mean I missed out on all the torture? I say. Did you let her go, or could I still get in on it? Taylor whips around and accidentally elbows a pile of gardening magazines as tall as I am. The whole stack topples over, crashing into a three-legged table with a vase on it and knocking them both to the floor. He makes an exasperated scoffing sound, like it's all my fault for being here. Damien, go home. You're not needed. But a familiar face appears out of the hallway. A sinister grin slips across Pete's mouth as he takes his place next to Taylor. Damien, Taylor says, I think you'll find that I have all the assistance I need. Peter here will show you out. If you gentlemen will excuse me, I have a very important phone call to make. He disappears in the hallway, and I hear his footsteps on the stairs. I make like I'm heading for the door, even if I have no intentions of leaving here without Sarah. Thanks anyway, Pete, but I can find my own way out. Pete grabs my arm and twists it behind my back. Not so fast, Damien. Who's winning now? Oh, I see. You got a taste for me the other night, and now you want more. Pete lets me go. His fist comes at me so fast that I don't know what's going on until it's too late. His knuckles collide with my jaw in a burst of pain. The force knocks me back, and I stumble into a glass cabinet full of china plates. It rattles, and I feel some of the dishes inside it fall and break. Warm blood pours out of my bottom lip. Been waiting to do that, Pete says, cracking his knuckles, for a long time. You're just mad because all those pockmarks uglied up your face. I touch my lip and wince. I pull my hand back and stare at my own blood staining my fingers. Nobody's ever hit me before. It's kind of surprising now that I think about it. I warned you not to scratch, Pete, just like I warned you not to mess with me. Pete lunges at me. I step out of the way, but he grabs my shirt and punches me again. And this time, it's my left eye and the bridge of my nose that erupt in white-hot pain. It was you on the cliff, wasn't it? You almost killed Sarah. You catch on quick. Pete smiles and holds up his fist. The first one was for the other night, he says. That one was for being a lousy friend and stealing Kat from me. I glare at him, even though my eye is throbbing. You took her from me. We had a good thing going, and then you... I saw her first, Pete screams. He grabs me by the collar and shakes me, my head banging against the china cabinet. You knew I liked her. You knew I was crazy about her. But you took her away from me anyway. I even introduced you. He laughs and shoves me to the floor. I was an idiot. Maybe she just liked me better. He kicks me in the ribs. Maybe I should learn to keep my mouth shut. But it's hard when Pete keeps spouting off nonsense. If she likes you so much, he says, why did she agree to come to your room with me at your party? Your party, Damien, at your house. Guess you weren't keeping her as satisfied as you thought. Because it was her idea to do it on your bed. Shut up. I get to my feet, blood rushing to my head. I feel my ears get hot and my whole face feels like it's on fire. My wounds flare up, but I'm too busy thinking about how I'm going to kill Pete to notice. That's not how it happened. Not what she told you. I trust her more than you. You think she's going to tell you the truth? She wanted to go all the way, man. If you hadn't walked in on us, Pete smirks and shrugs. Maybe if she hadn't been so into it, she wouldn't have been startled when you opened the door. She wouldn't have changed back to herself, and you wouldn't have ever known. Maybe it wasn't our first time either. You ever think of that? I kick him really hard in the shins and pull my arm back, but Pete's too fast. He ducks before I can make contact. He grabs my arm and wrenches it behind me. I feel him pry my thumb out so he can see it. So it's true, he says. Damien Locke's only half a villain. I struggle against him, but he twists my arm until I'm afraid it's going to break. Watch it, hypocrite, he says. You didn't see me not being your friend when you took Kat from me. But that same thing happens to you, and suddenly we're enemies. It was her decision too, not just mine. And now get this, you're the son of a freaking superhero. He spits on the floor after saying it. He pushes me forward into the hallway and not toward the door. I get the feeling he's not showing me out. Kat knows what I am, I say. She loves me anyway. We're having a pirate wedding and you're not invited. And if you're lucky, I won't send you an invitation. Pete slams his hand into my back, knocking my breath out of my lungs. Yeah, she really loves you. That's why she was at my place the other night, begging all the guys to take her into the bedroom. I kick at Pete, but I miss, and he grabs my hair and jerks my head back. He pulls so hard that my eyes water. And next year, he says, it'll be me and her at Vilmore. What do you think's going to happen without you there every day to remind her not to screw other guys? You're dead, Pete. I hope you know that. He laughs and opens a door. He shoves me into the room and slams the door behind me. I hear a key turn in the lock. We'll see about that. If everything works out for me tonight, I'll be back. I still owe you, Damien. Don't think we're squared up just yet. I'm locked in what looks like an old guest room, but has recently become a storage space for all the stuff that was in the gardening shed, which got knocked down in a bad storm last winter. All the furniture has been pushed against the walls, and there are various gardening tools leaning against the closet and getting dirt all over. God, Pete's an idiot. Who leaves their victims in a room with a pickaxe? It doesn't take me long to find a screwdriver to take the doorknob apart. I try all the other doors in the hallway until I find Sarah. I know it's her because I hear her sobbing, and because the door is locked. I run to the kitchen and check for spare keys and find a whole drawer full of them. Taylor's mom must have kept every spare key she ever owned. I take the drawer with me, which makes it hard to creep around quietly and sit in front of Sarah's door trying key after key. Let me out of here, Sarah screams. She pounds her fists on the other side. What do you think I'm trying to do? She sniffs. Damien? Yeah, be quiet, will ya? I'm not exactly supposed to be here. Key number 7 is yet another dud. I throw it on the floor with the other failures. Sarah goes silent. I don't know if it's because I told her to, or if it's because she said she never wanted to talk to me again. It takes me a while to work up the courage to ask, what did they do to you? She starts sobbing again. They made me fix it for them. I couldn't. They said... She chokes, and I only hear more crying until she gets a hold of herself. They said Geraldo got hit by a car. Key number 15 is the last key. I close my eyes and pray that it works. They said he was lying in the street dying and still twitching, and if I did what they wanted, maybe I'd get out of here in time to go save him. So I did, but they still didn't let me go. 15 is a dud. Damn. I look at the pile on the floor, then at the drawer, which is full of rubber bands and 10-year-old Post-it notes and expired film, but no more keys. Who told you that? Was it a blonde, middle-aged guy with a scraggly beard? It was a boy, about our age, a little taller than you. Please hurry. That last part comes out a squeak. He's going to die. I can retry all the keys, I can go look for a different one, or I dig through the drawer again, hoping to find something. Sarah, Geraldo's fine. He's at my house. At the bad guy's headquarters, no problem. She draws in a sharp breath. If you're lying to me, I'm not. Cold metal scrapes across my fingertips as I grope at the bottom of the drawer. I grab another key and hold my breath as I fit it in the lock. It turns. A click later, the door's open. I look Sarah over, still not sure that Pete wouldn't have hurt her. But she looks okay. The dog story must have been enough to make her give in. I could hug her, I'm so relieved, but I don't think she'd appreciate it. Wow, she says, poking the area around my eye with her finger. I wince. You look terrible. Thanks for the update. Are you talking to me again? Because my mom and her fiancé are about to use your hypno device to take over the city, and we're the only ones who know about it. Chapter 17. I didn't think I'd ever be back at the Tynes house, but this is important. Amelia is sitting at the dining table, doing her homework. Helen is chasing a naked Jessica across the living room, trying to get her to take a bath. Everybody looks when I come in, and I can practically hear them stop breathing. Amelia's eyes go wide, and she mouths, Damien, then quickly goes back to her homework, her eyes darting back and forth between her English book and her notes. Helen grabs Jessica while she's conveniently too busy staring at me to run off. I thought Geraldo was here, Sarah whispers. My other house, I say. I take a step inside, not sure if I'm welcome here. Gordon! Helen calls. Someone's here to see you. She lugs Jessica off to the bathroom. Gordon comes out of Alex's room with Alex right behind him. Alex starts to smile when he sees me, and then he notices how terrible I look and gasps. Sarah tugs on my arm and points to Gordon. I told you you looked like him. Gordon's face gets really ugly when he sees me, all twisted up and angry. Alex, he says, go back to your room. Alex drags his feet, taking as much time as possible. Amelia holds her book in front of her face, like she hopes Gordon won't notice her and make her leave. Amelia, you too. I'm doing my homework. You can do it upstairs. Amelia cringes and grabs her stuff, hightailing it out of here and up to her room. Gordon marches over to me, studying the bruises on my face and my split lip. I'm so angry with you right now, I could... He clenches his fist and doesn't finish. You weren't supposed to leave this house, and then you wander off to God knows where. I took my stuff, I say. It's not like you couldn't guess I wasn't coming back. Listen, is that supposed to make it okay? What happened? Don't tell me it didn't work out and now you're back. He tilts his head towards Sarah. Do you really want your friend to have to hear all this? That's my cue to kick her out, so Gordon doesn't have to embarrass me by chewing me out in front of her. You don't understand. Something really bad is going down tonight, and I don't want to hear it. Gordon folds his arms. Do you know how worried we've been? I called your mother about 1,000,000 times, but the line was always busy. Finally, I got through, and she said you'd come home. Mom and Taylor Lewis are spreading some toxic formula through the sewers. It's going to turn everyone except villains into their personal slaves. They're taking over the city. Damien, shut up. Gordon's face is red and mean. I've had it with you. You leave for good without even telling us. You make us worry all night, and then you show up looking like that, like you just got beat up. I told you, something bad is happening. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with you. He rubs his forehead and turns away. If you want to live with your mother, fine. I failed. We clearly don't need another 3 weeks to figure that out. You win. If your mother can handle you, then... Dad! That gets his attention. It's the first time I've called him that. Listen to me. You have to stop them. You're a superhero. You have to stop Mom and Taylor, or the whole city's going to be theirs by tomorrow morning. He looks at me like he's considering it. Then he just looks exhausted. I can't trust you anymore, he says. Bringing you here was a... Just do what you want. I don't care. He's telling the truth, Sarah says. Gordon glares at her. He squeezes my shoulder. I'm sorry it worked out like this. He gives me my phone. I guess he doesn't need to punish me now that I don't live here. Then he turns his back on me and wanders off into the kitchen, and that's it. My chest feels heavy, and not just because the Crimson Flash refused to save Golden City. Sarah and I leave, with me dragging my feet. I can't believe I met the Crimson Flash, Sarah says once we're outside. It must be so cool that he's your dad. Yeah, real cool. I lean against the front of the house. The cold air feels good on my bruises. My mom's about to take over the city and enslave everyone, and all I can think about is how I just got kicked out of a house I thought I didn't want to live in. The front door opens, and Amelia clomps over to us. I believe you, she says, looking really proud of herself. Great. If you were lying, you'd do a better job. Amelia twists her thumbs together, fidgeting and scuffing her foot against the ground. Alex is going to be really sad if you go, she says. He's gotten used to you living in his room. Tell him I'll never sleep on another floor without thinking of him. The attic's kind of big, Amelia goes on. Dad could probably put a wall in it. It could be 2 rooms. Alex could live up there, and then you guys would have a guest room that smelled faintly like cheese. Sorry, Amelia, but I know when I'm not wanted. Amelia was right about one thing. If I was lying, I'd do a better job. Just because I'm telling the truth doesn't mean there's any reason I shouldn't get results. I crowd inside the phone booth as Sarah calls up the Crimson Flash on his emergency hotline. She talks a little deeper than normal, disguising her voice in case he remembers it from 5 minutes ago, and tells him there's a fire at Taylor's address and people are trapped on the top floor of an apartment complex. She hangs up and says, I hope you're happy. Now you've got me lying. It's for a good cause. Now to get Geraldo. I dust my hands off as we leave the phone booth and make our way toward Mom's house. I remember the $20 Mom gave me and ask Sarah if she's hungry. She gives me a funny look. How can you think of food at a time like this? Like what? The Crimson Flash is on the job. Problem solved, right? He's a real superhero. He's got experience with this sort of thing. He'll get there, realize there's no fire, and figure out what's really going on. And see that you were right, Sarah adds. I shrug. Listen, Sarah, about what happened earlier in the park, when you were with that girl. I thought I was over her. Only kind of a lie. I wanted to believe I was. That's close enough. Clearly you're not. Sarah holds on to the edge of her glasses and looks down her nose at me. But I should have told you first, as soon as I realized it wasn't going to work out, between you and me. Sarah's quiet for a minute, then she clears her throat. I liked you, Damien. I do, I mean. I should have told you that from the beginning. Guys aren't usually into me, and I thought it would be easier if you were my science experiment instead of my boyfriend. I'm sorry we won't be going to any dances. Could have been fun. I want to tell her she'll find somebody awesome. Not awesomer than me, of course, but still cool. But I think it would just make things worse. Not as fun as with her, though. Sarah hooks her thumbs in her pockets and scuffs her shoe against the pavement. It's probably better we keep things 100% professional anyway, to avoid awkward situations. Like this one? I don't have the heart to tell her we don't have a professional relationship either, and that she's still not my sidekick because the superhero thing isn't going to stick. I let it go for now, thankful that she accepted my apology and things are going to be okay between us. We get to my house about half an hour later, opting to go straight there instead of getting dinner. I tell Sarah to wait outside while I get Geraldo. He leaps up on me as soon as I open the door, giving me a face full of dog, licking my cheek and pounding me to the ground. When he's done, I pick myself up and notice a note on the table from Mom. She says not to worry about dinner because she and Taylor are already busy with their plans and won't be back until morning. P.S. She can't wait until I'm her little prince of the city, yada yada yada. Great. At least the Crimson Flash is on the job and we don't have to worry. Plus, with Mom and Taylor gone all night, I don't have to leave Sarah standing in the cold. I tell her she can come in. She shoves past me and throws her arms around her dog. Geraldo! I crumple up the note on the table before Sarah sees it. She doesn't need to know that Mom is one of the bad guys and has big plans for me. Plus, being called her little prince of the city is kind of embarrassing. I'm home. Finally. I flop down on the couch, while Sarah glomps Geraldo and he licks her hair. No wonder it's so poofy all the time. But at least she's safe, and the Crimson Flash is going to put a stop to Mom's plans. And I'm out of the Tynes house, back at Mom's where I belong, where it's quiet and I have my own room and nobody freaks every time I move a muscle. I breathe deeply and stretch out, taking it all in. Nothing to worry about. Then the phone rings. Sarah freezes, like she thinks it's going to be bad news. It's probably Kat. That would be great. I could walk Sarah home, then go over to Kat's house and... But the number on the screen isn't Kat's. It's Pete's. I flip open my phone. Screw you. That how you answer the phone now? He says. You have so many enemies you don't even bother with hello? I'm on my feet, pacing. What do you want, Pete? You're gonna cry more about how Kat likes me better than you? I told you I always lose? Funny you should say that about Kat. My insides go cold and watery. I stop pacing. 'Cause she's here, Pete says. You want to say screw you to her? She's not. Damien! Kat's voice comes on the phone, scared and desperate. Don't listen to him. I got your girl, Pete says. And I got a whole lot of superheroes under my control. What about my mom? Nothing. Taylor bought that I was the eager, helpful assistant. While he and your mom went to spread their stuff around the city, they stupidly left me with their magic machine. I broadcast my voice all over town before they could, and now I'm the one in charge of all the zombies. I was on every radio and TV in Golden City, on all the stations. I wince, remembering that Pete's superpower makes him the human radio signal. He could spread the hypno powers of Sarah's device all over town faster than anyone. The Crimson Flash was supposed to stop you. Yeah, I got him here too. He's real useful, and he can't wait to see you. Listen, Damien, I know how jealous you get when Kat fools around. So I'm going to be nice and give you a heads up. We're on top of the tallest tower in Golden City, the Banking and Finances building. Enjoying the view. It's real nice at the top, Damien. Too bad you're always stuck on the ground. Anyway, if you want to walk in on us again, you know where to find us. And Damien, I'd hurry if I were you. He hangs up. I hurl my phone at the couch. It bounces off the cushions. I shout a couple of expletives that make Sarah and Geraldo both gape at me. I dig through my backpack and pull out the gun Sarah made. I still don't know how it works, but it's the best I've got. What's going on? Damien? What did he say? It's happening. I swallow and run my hands through my hair. Mom and Taylor didn't take over. Pete, that guy who told you Geraldo was hurt, did. And he's got Kat and the Crimson Flash. I pull the antidote Mom gave me out of my pocket and hold it out to her. Take this. It'll protect you against the toxin. Probably. She stares at it. But Damien, you're a superhero. You need that. I shake my head. I'm only half superhero. I don't know if it'll even affect me. I don't want you turning into one of those pie zombies we met in Rutherford. That's uncharacteristically sweet, but I force the vial into her hands. But nothing. Drink it. Now. Sarah tries to protest, but I don't take no for an answer. Grudgingly, she downs the whole thing, making a disgusted face the entire time. She looks like she's going to puke it back up when she's done. Blech! That was awful. I'll bet. Now go home. What? But I took the antidote. You are not going alone. Take Geraldo home and be safe. I shoo her and Geraldo to the door, shoving them outside and locking up behind me. I know you think I'm a lying jerk, but I really don't want anything to happen to you. Sarah folds her arms. You're not just a lying jerk. You're really, really stupid. I salute her. If I don't see you again, it was nice knowing you, Cosine. Chapter 18. The Banking and Finances building is dark when I arrive, but I don't doubt Pete's up there. Way up there. I tilt my head back, the wind blowing through my hair. I feel dizzy already. Better not to think about it. I hurry inside the building. It's unlocked. It smells funny in here, and the air looks a little hazy from the toxin Mom and Taylor spread all over. I tear through the lobby. but I skid to a stop when the computer screen on somebody's desk flickers to life and Pete's face appears. "Hey, hey, hey!" he shouts, clapping his hands together. "It's time for the What Will Pete Do Next show. Damien, if you're watching, this one's for you, man." He points at the camera, then makes a fist and places it over his heart. There are a couple of his superhero minions marching back and forth behind him. The camera zooms out, then in on Kat. She's tied to the stairwell house on the roof, the same one I was clinging to before the Crimson Flash threw me off the building. Kat has a golden choker clasped around her neck. She doesn't wear that type of stuff, but I'm guessing it's not meant to be jewelry. I think of Bart the blacksmith, Kat's grandfather, and wonder if it's his handiwork. After all, without something to suppress Kat's powers, there's no way Pete could tie her down and not have her change shape and slip out of her bonds. Her arms and legs are tied so that she's spread-eagled against the wall and can't move. Pete kisses her. She struggles to pull back, but there's nowhere to go. Pete breaks from her and looks at the camera. "Is this about where we were at your birthday party?" He taps his chin. "No, I think we were farther than that." "Damien!" Kat screams. I move away from the monitor and run for the elevator. I hear Pete's voice on another screen say, "You know you like it." I push the elevator button about 10 times. It's so slow and my heart is beating so fast. The elevator's never going to get here. One long, agonizingly slow ride to the top separates me from saving her. A little voice in the back of my head says, "You should fly, you idiot." It's not going to happen. I feel sick thinking about it and my knees wobble. My muscles get weak and I almost drop my gun. A wave of hot guilt pours through my chest. Kat's in trouble, and I don't know how I'm going to handle being on the roof. I can't even fathom flying up there. My fingers tighten around the gun in self-loathing. I hear screams coming from the monitors, and I think if the elevator doesn't get here in the next 5 seconds, maybe I'll go outside and just try. But then it dings and the doors open. The Crimson Flash steps out. His face is twisted in a sinister grin, his mouth lopsided. He tilts his head one way, then the other, looking me over. He reaches out and grabs my arm and pulls. I think it's going to come out of the socket. I jerk forward and stumble into him. His hand moves from my neck, but I'm getting more experienced at ducking. I move out of the way in time to not get strangled. I stomp on his foot. It should have hurt, but he doesn't even flinch. I twist and turn, trying to get my arm out of his grasp. I hold up my gun, thinking maybe I can risk firing a warning shot, but the Crimson Flash knocks it out of my hand. It skitters across the floor. It's enough of a distraction that his grip on me loosens a little. I get free and run under a desk. He picks up the gun off the floor. So much for the only superheroes can use it safety. He walks down the rows of desks. Above me, Pete's voice on the computer claims it's halftime. Then, "Come on, Damien! It's time to blow out your birthday candles! You better hurry!" He wishes me a happy birthday, then starts singing, as if we were kids having a party. He stops and yells at Kat to join in. "Don't be shy!" he screams at her. "You know the words!" The Crimson Flash kicks a rolling desk chair across the floor. I wonder how much Sarah's hypno device affects him, and if he recognizes me at all. I wonder if any of him's still in there. The Crimson Flash kicks another chair. He's getting closer to my hiding place. I hug my knees to my chest. I can't sit here and let him find me. I make a run for it. He chases after me. I weave between the desks, trying to slow him down, but it only slows me down instead. I push chairs behind me to create obstacles. The Crimson Flash flies over me, cutting me off at the other end of the aisle. Great. I've got him on one end and a whole lot of chairs on the other. I leap onto the nearest desk and dive into the next aisle as he pulls the trigger on the gun. A laser shoots out of it, cutting the monitor on the desk in half, just as Pete says, "She's not singing! I'll have to make her if you don't hurry up, Damien!" The Crimson Flash fires off another laser, and I scramble out of the way. He flies over so that he's standing right in front of me. He doesn't rush or anything, just points the gun and walks towards me. Steady and relentless, as I get to my feet and run like hell. He fires again. Zap! The laser misses me. That hypno device must be pretty powerful, because the real Crimson Flash wouldn't be caught dead trying to murder his own son. Even if I might be somewhat of a disappointment. Another zap! This one splits open the heel of my shoe. I pick up the pace. I hit the wall and run alongside it, hoping I can double back and get to the elevator before Gordon. He shoots the next laser in front of me, stopping me in my tracks. I duck down and make for the elevator as fast as I can. I push the button, but the doors don't open. Who else is using the elevator in this place? I push the button about 20 more times, each time expecting to feel a laser in the back, right through the heart. Gordon closes in on me. I can't move, paralyzed with fear. I have to get through these doors no matter what. And I have to not get killed by my own superhero dad in the process. Some part of you has to be in there, I say, my voice shaking. Maybe I can distract him until the elevator gets here. Maybe I can actually appeal to his good nature, the one locked up deep down inside, and bring him out of his zombie state. At least enough so he doesn't shoot me. Come on, you don't want to do this. You'll be really sorry when you wake up tomorrow and realize you've killed me. If he wakes up tomorrow. If I manage to stop Pete and get everything back to normal. The Crimson Flash smiles and points the gun right at my heart. Dad! I scream, a last desperate attempt to snap him out of it. I know you're in there! The real you wouldn't do this! You made Helen cry, he says, and everything turns to slow motion as I watch his finger move on the trigger. But he doesn't fire. He unexpectedly drops to the ground, the gun slipping out of his hand. A little dart sticks out of his neck. I look over and see Sarah, a dart gun in her hand. She blows over the end of it, like in the movies, and grins at me. My own special blend. You still want me to go home and be safe? If it isn't the cosign kid, my hero. I lean against the doors just as they open and tumble backward into the elevator. I bet he didn't mean to do that, Sarah says on her way up. She can't get over her hero firing lasers at me, even if he was a zombie at the time. Listen, Sarah, about what I said earlier today. I tap my fingers against the metal railing in the elevator, holding my gun in one hand. I stare at the trigger and think about Gordon almost firing on me and what could have happened if Sarah hadn't shown up when she did. I didn't mean for things to turn out this way. He's the Crimson Flash. He wouldn't normally have done that. I shouldn't have said you weren't my sidekick. Being a superhero wasn't exactly in my life plan. I mean, he is your dad, right? Sarah, I say, cutting her off. You need to go back home. Are you nuts? I just got here. And you needed me. I think that's pretty obvious. You can't go up there with me. He's already got Kat. And is going to do something awful to her if I don't get there in time to stop him. Can this elevator go any slower? Or would that break some kind of world record? What am I supposed to do if he gets you too? Give me that dart gun and get out of here. Oh, no, I'm not going anywhere. You just said I was your sidekick. No, I said I shouldn't have said you weren't. It's a little different. You called me cosign. She shakes her head at me, like she thinks I'm insane. I've already saved your life once tonight. I'm not going to get caught. And even if I do, so what? So what? He's got Kat tied to a wall. He's going to hurt her to get to me. And if he finds out I care about you too, he'll be all over that. You'll be taking a huge risk going out there to face him with me. How am I supposed to be your sidekick if you worry about me all the time? We're both going to get hurt in this business. We have to accept that. You have to trust me. Do you trust me? She conveniently finds a speck of dirt on her dart gun and shines it clean with the edge of her shirt, pretending she didn't hear me. I'm not going home, Renegade. Fine. Stay and help me if you want. See if I care. The elevator dings and the doors finally open to the top floor. The elevator doesn't go all the way to the roof. We'll have to take the stairs from here. You know you're walking into a trap, right? Yep. I hold my gun out in front of me as we leave the elevator, but the coast is clear. Just checking, Sarah says. Chapter 19. We burst onto the roof, and I don't look too far to the edge, afraid of getting dizzy and blowing this. 2 superheroes stand guard at either end, and a third mans the camera, aimed at Pete. I point my gun at him, ready to fire. But I can't. Pete's standing right in front of Kat. There's no way I can get him without getting her, too. Sarah shoots her dart gun at Pete, but one of the guards zips in front of him at super speed, taking the blow. The superhero crumples to the floor. "Grab her," Pete says. The other guard and the cameraman seize hold of Sarah as she takes aim again. They wrench the dart gun out of her hands, and one of them breaks it in half. I'm guessing he has super strength, or that he works out a lot. "Let them go, Pete!" I aim for his chest. He jerks his thumb over his shoulder at Kat. "Go ahead," he says. "Kill us both, if that thing even works." "Of course it works," Sarah shouts. She kicks the shins of one of her superhero captors, but he doesn't notice. I flash Pete a smile. "I'll make you a one-time offer. Let them go, and do whatever you want to me." "Is that right?" Pete pulls Sarah's hypno device out of his pocket. It looks how I remember it, kind of like a tape recorder, papered in red and blue cellophane, with colored wires spliced into the side. Only now with more duct tape. "Damien," he says, speaking into the device. His voice gets tinny, echoing across the room. And then I'm not sure if I really heard him or not, or if he said it directly into my brain. As I look around to see if anybody else heard him, a smile creeps over Pete's face. He says 4 words. "I am your master." And something snaps inside my head. I remember what Mom said about a trigger word. "Give me the gun," Pete says. Sarah struggles against her captors, but it's no use. "Damien, don't do it!" I march over to Pete, against my will, and put the gun in his hands. I can still think, and maybe talk, but I can't stop myself from doing what Pete says. Mom wasn't sure how her toxin would affect me. I must not be as susceptible to it as a normal person or a full-blooded superhero. Not a lot of good that does me. It means I'm aware that Pete's in control of me, but I can't do anything about it. Pete turns the gun over, inspecting it. He raises his eyebrows at all the wires and buttons. "What'd you do? Make this yourself?" I can almost hear Sarah gritting her teeth. Pete points it at me. He lowers it so it's aimed at my foot. I guess he isn't ready to kill me yet, and fires. Nothing happens. Kat exhales in relief. Pete tosses the gun down, calling it a piece of junk. Then he rubs his hands together. "It's great, isn't it? The city is falling into my hands. I've got the girl, and now my old buddy Damien has to do everything I say. What should we do to celebrate?" "I should steal her away from you." Pete punches me in the mouth, knocking me to the floor. I taste blood and move to get up, but he says, "On your knees, boy," and I have to listen. The other superheroes on the roof don't seem to have any free will. They stand around until Pete tells them to do something, their eyes glassy. Pete holds out a foot to me. "Kiss it and bow to your master." I lean forward and put my mouth on his dirty shoe. "With your tongue," he adds. I do what he says. It tastes like rubber and mud, and it's Pete's shoe. I guess I should be grateful that's all it is, and that he hasn't stepped in anything gross lately. "Get up." I stand. I catch a glimpse of how high up we are, how the whole city splays out below us, the ground so far down. I feel dizzy, like I'm going to fall, even though I'm not near the edge. I wince and shut my eyes. I wish I had something to hold on to. Pete laughs. "That's right! My boy's afraid of heights!" "It's okay, Damien," Kat says. Pete turns and glares at her. He raises his hand like he's going to hit her, then holds off. "You need to learn not to dirty your pretty mouth with his name. You'll figure that out soon enough." "I wish I'd never met you," she says. "Be careful what you wish for. Remember, I introduced you to him." Pete snaps his fingers. He points to one of his superhero minions. "You, back on the camera. It's time for another show. Damien, go stand next to Kat." He makes L shapes with his fingers and peers at us, like he's going to take a picture. I do what he says and move closer to her. "It's going to be okay," I whisper. Kat nods, but she doesn't look all that convinced. It might have something to do with her being tied up and me being under mind control. "Don't talk to her," Pete says. I was going to do her and make you watch. But then I thought the only thing worse than making you watch me rough her up is if I make you do it. He grabs a pocket knife out of his jeans and flips it open, locking it into place. He puts it in my hands. A little foreplay. You can only use it on her. Pete's so retarded sometimes, always giving me weapons. But he's got me. I will my hands to turn the knife on him, and it's like the signal doesn't get through. Smile for the camera, Pete says. The whole town's going to be watching. Me, a knife, and Kat. With Pete directing. Not a recipe for fun. My mind races. This whole situation seems hopeless. Pete's holding all the cards, and what can I do? I can talk, that's what. As long as my mouth works, I've still got a weapon. My most dangerous one. You know, Pete, I say before he can tell me what to do with the knife. This plan isn't going to work. Nice try, Damien. I shrug. It's flawed. You want to know why? I wait for Pete to take the bait. I'm patient. I don't offer him the answer until he mulls it over, curiosity getting the better of him, and finally says, Why's that? A slow, wicked grin twists up my mouth. Because, Pete, I hear you like torture. So I'm guessing you want me to torture Kat while you watch. But you know what, Pete? I laugh. Pure and sweet maniacal laughter that I pull seemingly out of nowhere. It's a strain to make it sound real, but it's this or let Pete finish ordering me around. That's not going to happen, not while I'm still breathing. I like torture too. Too bad we couldn't have stayed friends. Yeah, Pete says, a scowl pulling on his face. Too bad. Boy, are you dumb. You could have had me live out my worst fear, and instead you're giving me kinky S&M. I hold the knife toward Kat, pointing it at her stomach. Pete gets all ruffled about it and glares at me. Did I tell you to do that? This is gonna be great. And here I thought you were going to make me jump. If I tell you to jump, boy, you ask me how high. Off the building, I mean. That would have been... I shudder just thinking about it. I don't have to fake that part. I lower my voice a little and shoot Kat a wary look, like I don't want her to hear, before turning to Pete and going, I might have cried. On TV. And you'd be dead, Pete adds. I would, I agree. But you're not going to do that to me. It's one thing for you to torture people you don't know because Taylor tells you to. Notice you're not touching Kat. Your first instinct is to make me do it. So you know what you're not going to do, Pete? You're not going to kill me. You don't have the guts. One side of Pete's face twitches at the insult. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Oh no, Pete. That's what you're about to do. Drop the knife, he says. It clatters to the ground. Get away from her. I take a step back. He points to the ledge. Get over there. Now! I do what he says. I want to close my eyes and block this out, but I can't or I might fall. Last time I was here, I did. And if all goes well tonight, I will again. When I can't make myself walk any closer on two legs, I get down on my knees and crawl to the ledge. This is for Kat and Sarah. Please don't do this, I shout. Don't make me. We used to be friends, Pete. Jump. How high? As high as you can. I get to my feet. The drop below is sickening, and I feel my stomach wanting to heave. I look over my shoulder. Sarah closes her eyes, tears on her cheeks. She's mumbling something to herself. She looks like she's praying, but knowing her, she's probably reciting the periodic table of elements. Kat's eyes are on me, willing this all to stop. Don't do it, she whispers. Aye, aye, mateys, I say. I guess it's time to walk the plank. My knees are weak. Some part of me would give anything to not have to do this, even if it means not saving the day. Anything so that I'm somewhere else, safe on the ground. But the compulsion to do what Pete says is stronger than my fear. Good. It's what I'm counting on. I tell myself everything's going to be okay, as long as my heart doesn't stop beating before I can carry out Pete's order, which it might do. It's beating so fast. I jump as high as I can and leap off the edge of the tallest building in Golden City. Kat screams what might be my name, or what might just be a cry of agony. It's garbled, and I'm too busy hurtling through the air to figure it out. My mind races, swearing inwardly and panicking. Fly! Fly, damn it! Nothing happens. I'm plummeting like I did the other day, like in my nightmares. Gordon said I had control, but I don't. I will myself to use my power, to save myself, but it's no good. I think through what Pete said, my blood pounding on my ears. He never said don't save yourself. He never said don't use your power, don't fly. This is all me and my hang-ups and my fears. Cold air whizzes by me, stinging my skin and making my eyes water. I imagine what it'll be like to hit the pavement. Splat! And then not breathe or think or feel anything anymore. And I don't want to die. I will myself to fly. Because making Pete tell me to jump off a building and then not flying and not saving Kat and Sarah and not stopping that bastard is really, really lame. If I can't do this now, just this once, I don't deserve a name like Renegade X. The wind slows. The ground stops rushing toward me. I freeze in midair. I'm too afraid to move in case I fall again. I half wish I'd let Gordon teach me this stuff, because maybe then I'd know what to do. I get a hold of myself. My mouth tastes like metal, like blood, and I realize I bit the inside of my cheek. The wind carries the sharp scents of garbage and motor oil. I don't look down. I think about floating up, and that's what happens. My ascent feels slower than the elevator ride. I'm inching my way up, wishing I could go faster, but not knowing how and too afraid of falling. I keep myself as calm as I can, telling myself moving is better than not moving. Saving Kat is better than not saving her. But it'd be way better if I could get there sooner than later. I think about going faster, and this time I speed up. I stay below the edge of the building when I get to the top. Everything now depends on Pete not knowing I'm back from the dead. I peer over the ledge. Kat's crying silently and trying to look brave about my death. Pete's standing in front of her, ranting to the camera about how he beat me, how he finally won. Sarah's glaring at Pete, her face streaked with tears. She keeps looking over the edge, like she knows my plan and is wondering what the hell happened to me. Or she's looking for my body on the pavement. I slip over to the side near Pete, keeping my hands on the ledge for support, even though I don't need it. Physically, I mean. Mentally, every time I breathe, I think I feel the air give way and I'm plummeting again to my doom. My gun is still on the floor. I reach for it, very carefully, silently. Pete's too busy to notice my arm creeping across the ground behind him, but his two superhero minions might. My fingers close around the handle. I fly up over the edge and set myself on solid ground. Pete's still too close to Kat, but I come at him from the side. I pull the trigger. "Damien, watch out!" Sarah shouts. I roll out of the way in mid-fire, heeding her warning just as the hero with super strength who was holding her tackles me. I don't see where the laser hits, but I hear Pete cry out. The super strength guy kicks my gun away and stomps on my wrist. It crunches in a way it's not supposed to, and I feel like I'm going to be sick. "Stop her, you idiot!" Pete screams. He's near the ledge, trying to get to his feet, babying one foot like someone just shot a laser at it. Sarah runs toward him. She takes advantage of his weakened, one-footed state and gives him a good shove before Mr. Super Strength grabs her and drags her away. Pete falls. Off the building. Even though I hate him, my heart still stops, watching someone else live out my worst fear. But then he catches himself, his fingers clutching the ledge. "Damien, save me!" He sounds desperate. I don't know why he picks me and not one of his cronies. Maybe it's to torture me. Maybe he'd risk his life to make me a little more uncomfortable. Or maybe in his panic, mine is the only name he thinks to call out. We did used to be friends, once upon a time. I walk toward him. I can't help it. The power of the hypno device drags me against my will. If I save him, this is all over. With me on the losing side. I don't have a weapon. Pete knows about my ability, and I won't get a second chance. All I can do is creep slowly, dragging my feet as much as I can without disobeying him, and hoping he slips before I get there. If he dies, the hypno spell is broken, and we all get to go home. "Damien, faster!" he cries. Oh, tell me they got that one on tape. I'm not going to let you hurt my friends, Pete. I'm not going to help you. You don't have a choice. Step. Step. My shoes scrape against the roof as I struggle to slow myself down. But Pete's order to hurry up takes effect, and I can't help but pick up the pace. I pass Kat on the wall. I hate to think what Pete's going to do to her if he gets up from that ledge. I touch her hand, squeezing her fingers. I cling to her as long as I can, but my legs move on without my consent. Just our fingertips are touching, and then they're not anymore. You're going to die, Pete, I tell him. Nobody's going to save you. Shut up and get over here. My heart sinks, heavy and dead. I don't look back at my friends. I don't think about how badly this all turned out. I cross the last stretch of roof and kneel down. Pete loses his grip with one hand, but catches himself again. I'm shaking, trying to fight it so hard, but I can't. I'm going to save this bastard, and he's going to kill me, torture Kat, and do who knows what with Sarah. And then he's going to rule over Golden City like a king. I order you to save me, Pete screams. I've never heard him so desperate, so freaked out. He's losing his grip. If I could hold out a little longer, but my hands move on their own, reaching for his, even with my injured wrist. It's all over. Then, out of nowhere, a pair of lasers juke by, nearly missing my hand. They cut across Pete's fingers, and it isn't pretty. And he falls. A long way down. His screams echo in my ears. His order to save him still stands, and I'm going to jump again without wanting to. But then Mom grabs my arm and doesn't let go. Now I know where the lasers came from. Damien, what happened to you? She hugs me so tightly to her that I couldn't get away even if Pete told me to. And then the urge to jump after him and save him disappears. And I know he's dead. There are tears in my eyes. I'm so relieved to see Mom and for this whole thing to be over. I don't cry, though. Standing here, getting hugged by my mommy, still on TV, and crying like a baby would be too much. The superheroes on the roof blink and stop what they're doing, which includes holding Sarah hostage. I break free from Mom and grab Pete's knife off the ground and cut through Kat's bonds. I have to use my right hand to do it, and my wrist is swollen and hurts like hell, so much that I can barely use it. But I don't care. Kat drops to the ground. She sinks into me, and I wrap my arms around her. And we both slump to the floor as one person, in one big heap. God, Damien, when you jumped, I thought... Tears spring up in Kat's eyes. She swallows them back and clings to me, her words trailing off unfinished. It's okay. It's over now. I unclasp the choker from around her neck. It feels like it takes forever, and my fingers keep fumbling. It doesn't help that it's so cold out here. Mom bends down and picks something up off the ground and puts it in her pocket. We should get you kids out of here, she says. You're an idiot, Kat tells me, wiping the tears from her eyes. What was I supposed to do if he killed you? Die of heartbreak before he could hurt you, of course. I wink at her. It was all part of the plan. And then I remember Sarah, having to stand around watching me, her former potential boyfriend, comforting the girl I chose instead of her. Sure, Kat was the one tied up, but I didn't even ask if Sarah was okay. I get to my feet and turn to face her. Sarah's standing there with her arms folded, watching me. At least she's not writing this down in her notebook. Sarah, I say, feeling more awkward than ever. I'm sorry, I walk up to her, holding my wrist close to my chest to minimize the jostling. Are you okay, Cosine? She nods, then grins. I told you to trust me. I'm sorry it didn't work out, I tell her, though I keep my voice a little low, not really wanting Kat to hear. You know, between us. We already talked about this, but I can't help still feeling guilty about it. Sarah rolls her eyes at me. Please, Damien, I'd much rather be shoving people off of buildings with you than dating you. This was way more fun. And I'm better off being your sidekick. I am your sidekick, right? Yeah, I say, smiling at her. I wouldn't have it any other way. Chapter 20. Kat and I are sitting on a cement planter outside the banking and finances building. A building I wouldn't mind never seeing again. If they ever decide to tear this thing down, I'm going to get front row seats. I have my arm around Kat, and she has her head against my shoulder. Sarah's dad came and picked her up, but she told me to call her tomorrow to make sure I'm okay. One of the superheroes called an ambulance, and the paramedics bandaged up my wrist. They said it was just sprained, but they still want me to go to the hospital and get checked out. They wanted to take my gun away at first, but I told them it wasn't real. They believed me when they saw the wires hanging off of it. As a rule, villains don't go to the hospital. Medical villainy is actually a pretty lucrative career because villains who get hurt in situations not on the up and up are willing to pay top dollar to get healed without any of the authorities asking questions. Damien, Kat says, curled up against me. I love you. She swallows. I just wanted you to know. I kiss the top of her head. Aw, you're just saying that because I saved your life. No, I mean it. She sits up and gives me a stern look. I know Pete said some crap to you about me and him. He was bragging about it. It wasn't true. You only want me because you like the idea of a cool pirate wedding and I'm the only one who can pull it off and you know it! But, I add, my eyes darting toward her. I love you too. Just so you know. I hold her closer, and she settles back into me, one arm across my stomach, like she's never going to let me go. Kat, I whisper, I have another confession to make. You want to start your own circus with dancing robots instead of clowns, and ferocious penguins instead of lions? Yes! But no, that's not it. I'm afraid I have bad news. Bad news? After tonight? She sounds skeptical. I nod. Mr. Wiggles is dead. I've tried to reanimate him, but you know how that goes. He still dances to music, but now he wants to eat brains all the time. Kat laughs. I think I can forgive you. Because you love me or because I saved your life? Both. She grins. My dad should be here soon. I called him over 20 minutes ago. He freaked when he heard what happened and said he'd take the new computerized car he's got, the one with the ultra-efficient GPS. Kat rolls her eyes. He made a point of telling me that, so I'll know he cares. Like I wouldn't anyway. I'm sure he'll give you and your mom a ride. Thanks, Kat. I'm not looking forward to explaining to her dad how his daughter got kidnapped because of me or how I'm only half villain. Something he might not approve of, especially now that I'm dating his daughter. I should go find Mom and let her know. Where is your mom? Good question. I realize I haven't seen her in a while. I nearly got killed, I'm injured, and Kat and I are obviously back together. Mom should totally be hovering over me. The only thing that would stop her is if she had something big going on. Something really big. And now I know what she picked up off the roof, and I know I have to stop her. Mom's on her cell phone in the lobby, the scene of my fight with the Crimson Flash. She says, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and slams her phone shut. Sure enough, in her other hand is the hypno device. She gasps when she sees me. "What are you doing here? What did the paramedics say about your wrist?" "Who is that? On the phone?" I circle around her, keeping my distance. "Taylor," she rolls her eyes. "He's being ridiculous. He doesn't realize this is our chance, that this Pete thing was only a little glitch. Maybe he's upset that one of his favorite students is dead. Just a guess. Can I see that?" I hold my hand out for the hypno thingy. Mom smooths out her hair, flustered because I'm right. "No, dear, it's very delicate, and you already broke it once. This thing with Pete wasn't just a little glitch. Kat could have gotten seriously hurt, and I almost died. Don't you care?" "Of course I do. But it's not like I planned for that to happen. And if you'd taken the antidote like I told you to instead of giving it away, there wouldn't have been a problem." She gives me a look. Once I take control, everything will be fine. Mom, you can't! You put everyone I care about in danger tonight. And you handled it very well, considering the circumstances. I'm very proud of you. She holds up the hypno device, ready to speak into it. Before I know what I'm doing, I draw my gun on her. Mom, I can't let you do that. I have to hold it with both hands, partly because of my injured wrist, and partly because I'm shaking so badly. Damian, lock! She scolds me, then laughs, not taking me seriously. Oh, what do you think you're going to do? I'm your mother. Put that away. Didn't you hear me? I said I can't let you do this. She lowers the machine, her face set in a scowl. Her lip curls in disgust. You sound like a superhero. I am a superhero. I'm as shocked as she is that those words came out of my mouth. My arms shake so much that the gun rattles. Clearly sending you to your father's was a mistake. She didn't even flinch on the F word this time. I don't want you seeing him anymore. You're going to stay home, and we're not going to do anything unless you give me that. I gesture to the device with my weapon. Mom's eyes flash. Damian, put the gun down. I shake my head. Mom's silent, and when she speaks, her voice is soothing, like she's talking to a scared animal. It's over now. Everything's going to be okay. I aim the gun at her chest and feel like I'm aiming at myself. You're not going to use that on your mother. Now cover your ears. I shoot. A laser flies past her head. It got a little closer than I meant it to. That was a warning. Put it down now. Damian, you don't want to do this. Mom isn't scared. She's pissed off. You're crossing the line. What does that mean? It means you better hope Gordon keeps his word, because I won't have a superhero living in my house. He will, I say, mostly to bother her. But I know he will, even if he hates me. I move in closer and, keeping the gun in my left hand, hold out my right, not caring how much it hurts. Give it to me. Mom's face is impassive. If you do this, you're not going to get into Vilmore. She puts the device in my hand. You're making an enemy of your own mother. That's the choice you're making here. No, that's your choice, Mom. I feel like all my insides are dying. I want more than anything to give it back to her and tell her I'm a supervillain and beg her to take me back. But I can't. I don't feel like a villain anymore. Not 100%. Not after tonight. I could have gone along with Mom's plan and become prince of the city, but I had to save Kat and stop Pete. And I couldn't let her hurt Sarah or Gordon or anybody close to me, even if that meant sacrificing everything and not getting into Vilmore. Even if it meant I'm that much closer to getting an H instead of a V. I may not be all hero, but I can't pretend I'm all villain either. Mom's lasers flash. Everything happens in slow motion. The lasers hit my gun, exploding it in my hand. She lunges, reaching for the hypno device. I turn away. I hurl it as hard as I can at the wall. No! Mom screams. I can practically hear all her hopes and dreams breaking as the hypno device smashes against the wall. Don't even think about bothering Sarah again. If you do, I'm sure the police and every superhero in town would be interested in finding out where you live and how to get into your secret lab. And I'll be wanting the recipe for the antidote when I come to get my stuff. I turn my back on her and walk out on the life I've known for 16 years. I stay the night at Kat's house. Her parents don't invite me, but I accidentally fall asleep on their couch because I don't want to deal with the fact that my mom disowned me and I'm dreading having to call Gordon. Kat's mom cried for an hour after we got back to their house, even though Kat assured her she was fine. And her dad shuffled around and said he would buy her anything she wanted because he doesn't know any other way to handle things. Nobody asked me how my wrist was. It hurt a lot. And maybe I should have gone to the hospital, but I wasn't going to bring it up. Kat's mom wakes me up about noon, her hand on my shoulder. I blink, still tired. I want to go back to sleep, because sleeping means avoiding reality, but it also means nightmares and falling to my doom over and over. It means confronting my mom, who may or may not still care about me. And in my dreams, it's me who pushes Pete off the ledge. Sometimes I fall with him. Sometimes it's just me who tumbles down to the pavement, while Pete does whatever he wants with Kat.
"There's a man who says he's your father,"
Kat's mom says.
"He's waiting for you outside."
She looks a little guilty, and I'm guessing they didn't want to let him in the house, since he's a superhero.
"Your phone rang about 100 times, and I answered it and told him where you were."
I sit up. I stare bleary-eyed at my knees. My stomach growls. I can smell myself. I don't remember the last time I needed a shower this badly. And my wrist is throbbing and my face hurts all over.
"You don't have to go with him,"
Kat's mom says.
"I can call your mother."
My eyes water when she mentions Mom. Mrs. Wilson's so nice, and she doesn't know Mom doesn't want to see me again. I press the back of my arm against my eyes and breathe in slowly. I shake my head. She hugs me and tells me it's going to be okay. I kind of wish she wouldn't. It makes it harder not to break down. I get a hold of myself and tell her it's fine. I'll go with him. Gordon's waiting for me on the front porch. Relief washes over him when he sees me. Then he looks awkward and like he doesn't know what to say. "I guess you won. I'm a superhero now, right? I saved everyone and Mom doesn't want me." I stomp down the steps. "Lucky you, now you're stuck with me." "I thought Helen was going to slug me this morning when I told her I didn't know where you were." Gordon squeezes my shoulder. I shrug him off. I don't want anybody touching me. "You did a good thing last night," he mutters, scratching the side of his head. "Everything's messed up. It could have turned out a lot worse." Like Mom not disowning me? Like Kat not getting kidnapped? And my ex-best friend not falling off a building and dying? Gordon sighs. "Sometimes it's not easy doing the right thing. It's not as black and white as you think." Fine. So I'm a superhero. I guess that means you have to keep your promise and take me in. That's still an X on your thumb, Damien. I wouldn't say the events of one night are going to decide your whole future. You've got time yet to decide which way you want to go. You only have to put up with me for 2 years, then I'll be 18 and on my own. It'll fly right by. I'll try and stay out of your way. What are you talking about? If this is about what happened last night, well, I was under mind control. I wasn't myself. Not that. He wouldn't normally chase me down and shoot lasers at me. I know that much. I'm not stupid. Last night at the house, you said you didn't care. You said taking me in was a mistake. I didn't say that. You wanted to. I sit down on the porch steps. I consider going back inside and telling Kat's mom I can't go home with him. I was wrong. It wasn't a mistake. He squats down so we're at the same eye level. Everybody wants you to come back. I rest my head on my arms, propped against my knees. It's okay if you're only doing this because you feel like you have to, but don't tell me everyone wants me when they don't. Gordon pales. He looks like he's going to be sick. Then he smiles and shakes his head. I don't think they'd let me in the house if I showed up without you. And I know I'd never forgive myself. He holds his hand out to me. When I don't take it, he grabs me and pulls me to my feet. You're a good kid, and I'm proud to have you. He puts his arm around me and hugs me so hard, my ribs feel like they're going to break. He kisses my forehead. Come on, son. Let's go home. Chapter 21. That, Kat says, looking up at the shark swimming by behind the glass, is a triangle, mister. Square! You lose again. Amelia rolls her eyes at us. It's a shark! It's been a week since the whole Pete fiasco. We're at the Golden City Aquarium with my family. At first, Gordon wasn't going to let me bring Kat, on account of her being a supervillain. He claimed it was because the aquarium trip was only for our family, but then I played up how much my wrist hurt and said I didn't know if I could leave the house without Kat there for moral support. He scowled at me and said she still couldn't come. And then I told him about the robotic scorpions I put in his closet that only I know how to disable. That changed his mind pretty fast. The front of my t-shirt has a picture of a shark with a word bubble that reads, "Sharks bite people, roar!" There's an octopus on the back holding a sign that says, "I'm a good source of ink." Kat's wearing a silver evening gown. Heads turn as she walks by, and then people stare and mutter to themselves when they see me. She looks like she's going to prom, and I look like I don't respect sea life. It's great. I trace another shape on Kat's palm with my finger.
"Circle," she says. "Don't patronize me, Damien. I can take the hard stuff."
Apparently not, or you wouldn't keep getting them wrong. Amelia looks at the stingray gliding past the window, then looks at us like we're crazy. Alex runs by, chasing after the shark. He's practically glued to the glass. Gordon tells him, "No running!" and Alex slows to a jog. Kat shuts her eyes as I draw another shape. She shakes her head.
"What was that?"
"Dodecahedron."
"It was not."
"Was too. Now you owe me $10. I accept cash or credit. No checks or money orders."
"How about I forget that you were late yesterday and call it even?"
$10 late fee. I must be awful important. I take her hands and pull her to me, pressing her against the shark tank. I move in to kiss her, but she kisses me first. I hear an "Oh, gross!" from Amelia and some giggles from Alex. I wonder how long we can go at it before aquarium security tells us we're not supposed to touch the glass. There are angry voices behind us, and I catch snippets from Helen like,
"Came in the mail yesterday," and "That girl's a bad influence."
Then Gordon marches over to us. He clears his throat. Damien, can I have a word with you?" "Kinda busy." He ignores me and holds up a little card that says, "Your subscription is on its way." "Helen tells me this came yesterday. Addressed to me." I break away from Kat and take a better look at the card he's holding. It's from Hottest Villains. I raise my eyebrows at him. "Wow, Dad. You didn't even give them a fake name. That's pretty bold." "I didn't order it, but I think you know that." He folds his arms, his jaw set, waiting for me to confess. "I thought the thing with my mom was a one-time fling." "I didn't know you had a supervillain fetish." Gordon scowls. His face gets red, and he looks like he's about to chew me out in front of everyone at the aquarium. But Kat interrupts him.
"Gee, Mr. Tynes," she says, "this is a real letdown. You're always so clean and on the up and up on your show."
She sighs.
"I guess it's true what they say about not meeting your heroes in real life."
Gordon's scowl fades into a look of confusion. Then he beams at her, clearly entranced. "You, watch my show?"
"All the time."
She claps me on the back and stage whispers,
"So does Damien, but he doesn't like to admit it."
She conveniently leaves out the part about how we make fun of it nonstop. "I might have seen a few episodes," I tell Gordon, "but I'm not a die-hard fan like Kat here." She forces a smile while reaching over and pinching my arm. Gordon's so shocked by this news, he stands there, smiling and gaping at us for a minute, as if we just told him the world was made of sunshine and rainbows and he believed us. "Listen, Damien," he finally says, waving the subscription card. "We'll talk about this later. And you're going to give me the deactivation code to those scorpions the second we get home." "Of course." I salute him, which seems to throw him off. He mumbles something about us enjoying the aquarium and makes his getaway. I'll tell him whatever code he wants, but the joke's on him because the scorpions don't use a code. The only way to deactivate them is to wait until their batteries run out.
"We make good partners in crime,"
Kat says. "Yeah, sure. Today we do. 6 months from now, when you're going to Vilmore and I'm not,
we'll figure something out."
Even if I had my V, there's no way Taylor would ever let me in. Not since I chose Gordon over my mom. Not since Mom disowned me. Vilmore and me. It's never going to happen. Kat bites her lip.
"A change of plans doesn't change who we are, or how we feel." "But,
Damien," Kat grabs my shoulders.
"I love you. That's what matters."
She smiles at me, and I know that she means it. Kat and I have barely started kissing again when Helen stomps over to us, Jessica squirming in her arms.
"Damien,
she says, addressing me and not Kat, and not sounding particularly friendly.
We're getting lunch. Are you coming?
I give her a thumbs up without breaking from Kat.
Is that a yes or a no?
Kat! Jessica shouts, and then laughs like it's the funniest thing in the world.
Maybe you two should give it a breather,
Helen says, in a tone that says by maybe she means definitely. Come on, Helen, Gordon says, coming up behind her and taking Jessica. Let the boy have his fun. You're only young once. Helen shoots Gordon a look, like she plans on murdering him later, but doesn't want to say so in public. I can tell the last thing she wants is to let me have my fun. Maybe she's the type who thinks teenagers shouldn't be allowed to date until they're 30. But considering how she reacted when I told her about my supposedly kissing Joe, I think her getting so pissed off has more to do with who my partner is. Maybe bringing Bart the blacksmith's granddaughter to our family outing wasn't the best idea in the world. But I love Kat, and Helen's going to have to get used to it.
You wouldn't say that if you'd seen them yesterday, Helen says. I caught them timing it with a stopwatch.
I pause long enough to explain. We were going for the world record.
But we were nowhere near it,
Kat adds, disappointed. Helen sighs.
We'll be at the food court if you decide you're hungry. Otherwise, meet us in half an hour in front of the eel exhibit.
She calls for Amelia and Alex to hurry up. Gordon ruffles my hair. He sounds extra friendly when he says, "Have fun, kid." Possibly to make up for how sour Helen's being. Hey, Dad? He looks over his shoulder. Are people staring at us? He glances around. No more than usual. You're going to have to try harder. Ah, nuts! I snap my fingers. Gordon's laughter fades as he hurries to join the others. I go back to kissing Kat. Things pick up, and we get some good mutters from people walking by. An old lady calls us obscene. I'm beginning to think we should have brought the stopwatch when my phone rings.
Don't answer it,
Kat mumbles. She puts her hands on my face, holding me to her. Sorry, Catfish. Duty calls. I answer it. It's Sarah. I thought I told you never to call me here. Renegade, did you see the paper this morning? She screams. You know I don't read anything before noon. There's been a series of robberies all over town. The police can't figure out the connection, but it's so obvious. They're going after items owned by the Mad Baroness. It's so infuriating. I know where they're going to strike tonight. Not only are they going after Mad Baroness collectibles, but they're doing it in this spiral pattern. We have to get there. Got it. Silence. Then, so get down here. I'm a very busy man, Sarah. I can't drop everything every time somebody needs me. Psh! I know what you're busy doing, and this is more important. Besides, I've got a new weapon for you to try out. As a matter of fact, I'm on a family outing. It's very important. Do not disturb and all that. How is your family outing do not disturb? Fine. I guess I'll go walk Geraldo. I'll be there in 2 hours. I hang up. Kat takes my phone and turns it off. So you're mine for 2 hours, huh? She locks her arms around my waist. I'm partial to telling all the sharks they're not as cool as they think they are, and that it's people like them who bankrupt the Tooth Fairy and don't leave any tooth money for the rest of us. Or we can make out some more. I'm planning on moaning, "Oh, Salty, you bad sea demon," next time. Just so you're prepared. Kat grins. Who says we can't do both? I knew I loved you. I lean in and kiss her. And then a shark swims by, and I shake my fist at it and ask it where all my quarters are. Acknowledgements. I'd like to thank my awesome agent, Holly Root, for using the L word and swooping in to save the day at exactly the right moment. I'd also like to thank Greg, Elizabeth, and all the other wonderful people at Egmont, the book's original publisher, for believing in this story and making the magic happen. Without them, this book wouldn't be the physical entity you hold in your hands, and would still be intangible words on my computer screen. And if that's not magic, I don't know what is. As for everyone else, putting up with a struggling writer is no easy task, but supporting and encouraging them for years on end, I'm pretty sure that puts you in the running for sainthood, which is why all these people get my most heartfelt thanks. Chloe and my family for supporting the hell out of me, even when things looked their darkest. The writing group for making Friday nights at the Black Drop my favorite part of the week. Dianissima and the rest of the Latin crew for listening to more about writing than they ever wanted to know. And everyone down at the Pats for taking me in when I needed it, teaching me Dianglish, and bestowing upon me the wisdom of Misty the Sphinx, a great oracle who definitely knows all. About the author. Chelsea M. Campbell grew up in the Pacific Northwest, where it rains a lot, and then rains some more. She finished her first novel when she was 12, sent it out, and promptly got rejected. Since then, she's earned a degree in Latin and Ancient Greek, become an obsessive knitter and fiber artist, and started a collection of glass grapes. Besides writing, studying ancient languages, and collecting useless objects, Chelsea is a pop culture fangirl at heart and can often be found rewatching episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Parks and Recreation, or spending way too much time on Facebook. You can visit her online at www.chelseamcampbell.com. This has been The Rise of Renegade X, Renegade X Book 1, written by Chelsea M. Campbell, narrated by Philip Russell Newman in conjunction with Frontier Audio. Copyright 2010 by Chelsea M. Campbell. Production copyright 2013 by Chelsea M. Campbell.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.